All right. Welcome back to the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. It is currently 3:47 a.m. And of course, today's date is the 19th of June 2025. How are y'all doing this beautiful early morning? Okay. For the men that work nights, God bless y'all for tuning in because I get a lot of messages saying I work night shift and I'm watching your show. God bless y'all. Thank you so much. God is the greatest, and God is going to bless every single one of y'all and your family as well. Okay, so blessings on you and your family. All right. With that being said, thank y'all for tuning in. America is the greatest country. America is the greatest nation on earth. Okay, it is what it is. That's my belief. That's my opinions. Um, that is my opinion, and you don't have to believe it. Okay, you can have yours, but my opinion is America is the greatest country on the face of the earth. And with that being said, Trump salutes the American flag. So, couple of hours ago, the commander in chief President Donald J. Trump, the 45th, now the 47th President of the United States, he mounted 100 feet pole in the South Lawn on the other side, two 100-foot pole American flag. And to me, that is 1,000,000% patriotic. Okay, that is patriotic, ladies and gentlemen. That means you love America. You love the American people. You love the American culture. You love the American way. You love this land. You love the American flag. And they salute the American flag. So, a couple of things we're going to check out today before we check out. Okay. We're going to check out the OG, answer some questions. We're going to check out the 100-foot pole American flag in the White House, how it was mounted. And yeah, be respectful in the chat. Okay, be respectful in the chat, please. Okay, because we want to be respectful to one another. We are Americans. It doesn't matter if you're liberal or conservative. It does not matter. What matters is you are American. Okay. With that being said, enjoy the show. Thank you.
So the White House opened about 1800, a little before that, just a tad. And I've always said, why doesn't it have a flagpole from the grass? They call it a flagpole from the grass. They have a little one on top, a very little one. This is about the largest you'll ever see, and it's tapered. It's at a quality that you guys rarely get to even put up. They do that for a living. They're incredible people. I don't know them, but I love them. And I would bet that they all voted for Trump. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but I think so. But we're about to lift it, and we also have one going on what's called the front or the north. We have one going there, identical. So we'll have one on this side of the building, we'll have one on that side of the building properly placed. In this case, we had a lot of choices, putting it on that hill, putting it different places. It's such a beautiful pole, we thought we'd put it near. I mean, it always looks best when it's near a Doral. I put it right near. I have a similar pole. And these are the best poles anywhere in the country, or in the world, actually. They're tapered. They have the nice top. You know, I don't know if you people are aesthetic. You know, they're the fake news. I don't know if I'm... I don't know if they're... But it's a very exciting project to me. And then at 11 o'clock, we're lifting the flag. But we're going to lift the pole now, and then they're going to the other side, get that, and then we're going to do, I think, 2 flag liftings. We'll be putting it up at 11 on here, and a couple of minutes later on the other side. We'll start here at 11. So that'll be very nice, very patriotic. We're doing well and as a country. If the Fed would ever lower rates, you know, would buy debt for a lot less. It's a shame. This guy, I have a guy, do you ever have a guy that's not a smart person and you're dealing with him and you have to deal? He's not a smart guy. He's worried about inflation. I said, that's right. If there's inflation in 6 months or 9 months, you lower the rates or you raise the rates. You can do whatever you want, Brian, right? So let's say there's rampant inflation, which there's none. You know what there is? There's success. I got a call from Congress last night. Sir, there's a problem. I said, what is it? Money is pouring in. We don't know how to account for it. I said, check the tariffs. $88 billion came in from tariffs. No inflation. And it's going to get even more so. I know what I'm doing. So we have a stupid person, frankly, at the Fed. He probably won't cut today. Europe had 10 cuts, and we had none. And I guess he's a political guy. I don't know. He's a political guy who's not a smart person, but he's costing the country a fortune. So what I'm going to do is, he gets out in about 9 months. He gets fortunately terminated. Biden, I would have never reappointed him. Biden reappointed him. I don't know why that is, but I guess maybe he was a Democrat. I got great advice from Mnuchin on this one. Great advice. But he's done a poor job. So we have no inflation. We have only success. And I'd like to see interest rates get down. Now, Biden did a lot of very short-term debt. So we have short-term debt coming due. And because of this guy's rates, if he'd lowered a point, I'd pay about a point less. Then if he'd lowered 2 points, I'd pay about 2 points less. And that's for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 5 years. It's hundreds of billions, it's even trillions of dollars that we're going to lose because of this too late. I call him Too Late Powell because he's always too late. I mean, if you look at him, every time I did this, I was right 100%. He was wrong. Maybe I should go to the Fed. Am I allowed to appoint myself, Doug? I don't know. Am I allowed to appoint myself at the Fed? I do a much better job than these people. So anyway, we should be 2 points lower. It'd be nice to be 2.5 points lower. We'd be saving $800 billion, $700 billion. That's a lot of money. Think of it for nothing, for absolutely nothing. We'd save $600, $700, $800 billion. We have, I think we're 38th now in interest, and we should be number one. We should be the lowest. But, and by the way, if he's worried about inflation, that's okay. I understand that. I don't think there's going to be any. So far, there hasn't. I mean, we have almost no inflation. We've done a great job. When I came in, we had a lot of inflation. We went through 4 years of the highest inflation in the history of our country with Sleepy Joe Biden. And Sleepy Joe. And he didn't know what the hell he was doing. And so we had the highest inflation we've ever had in the history of our country. And then it came down because when I got elected, it started dropping because people understood that I knew what I was doing. But now we have a man that just refuses to lower the Fed rate, just refuses to do it. And he's not a smart person. I don't even think he's that political. I think he hates me, but that's okay. He should. He should. I call him every name in the book, trying to get him to do something. I've been nice to him. I do it always. I don't know how to sell. I've been so nice to him, fellas, you wouldn't believe. Let's have dinner. Too late. I call him too late. Come on, too late. Let's have dinner. I do it every way in the book. I'm nasty. I'm nice. Nothing works. He's like just a stupid person. But I don't expect anything. Maybe he does a little bit, but we should be 2.5 points. Remember, Europe had 10 cuts. We had none. We're paying more rate, more interest than a lot of European nations that can't carry our suitcase. I'm going to be nice. There's another expression. You know what the other expression, can't carry your, what it is, but I shouldn't use it in front of the fake news. So it's very sad to see it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go very short term, like 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. Wait till this guy gets out, get the rates way down, and then go long term. Because we have a tremendous appetite for our debt, because our country is doing well. But think of it, I got a call from Congress 3 nights ago. Sir, we can't account for the money coming in. I said, that's a good problem. The bad problem is we don't have any money. They can't account. There's so much more money than we thought is coming into the Treasury. We don't know where it's coming from, sir. I said, check out the tariffs. He calls back about a day later. Wow, I think you were right. Yeah, I was right. That's nothing. You haven't seen anything yet. More importantly than the money coming in, we have factories being built, AI, auto factories. 2 of them stopped yesterday in Mexico, you read, and they're coming here because they don't want to pay the tariffs. They can't pay the tariffs. It doesn't work. So I just want to wish you a lot of luck with the new flagpole. We have 2 of them, and we're going to do this one now, then we're going to do the other one. 11 o'clock or so, we're going to have a flag raising, which will be great. And I got to get these guys back to work. They're making a fortune. They're standing around making a fortune. But remember, there's somewhere in this group, there's somebody that is going to captivate some movie producer. Not Harvey Weinstein, but somebody else. Harvey's seen a better day. So it won't be Harvey, but it'll be somebody. And it'll say, that guy is perfect for a movie. And you're going to become a star, and your friends are going to call you, and you won't even return their phone call anymore. You know? Because you say, what do you do for a living? I put up flagpoles. I'm not even going to talk to you. I'm a big movie star. So some way you have that. Anyway, let's have a good, they call it a lifting. They also use another word, but I'm not going to use that word. You know what that is? The word, it starts with an E. You know what the word is? If I ever used it, I'd be run out of town by you people. All right, so enjoy it, Duck. You're going to get some good. You're going to win another Nobel Prize, I think, for this picture. So maybe the flag will be even more exciting, but this is pretty exciting. That's some equipment, I'll tell you what. Look at that crane. That's some beautiful equipment. It's, there's nothing like America. Have a good time, everybody.
Mr. President, have you given to answer questions about whether you are moving closer, or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities? Where's your mindset on that?
I can't say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question. Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's so, you know, everyone thought it was going to be the reverse. I didn't think so. And I was telling them, you gotta do something. You gotta negotiate. And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that, and they got hit. Remember 60 days, and then came the 60. 61 is going to become a very famous number. That was one hell of a hit. That first hit. That was one hell of a hit. Not sustainable, to be honest. That's where it ended. It ended on the first night. Yes.
Is it too late, though? Do you think it's too late to now?
Not really. Nothing's too late. The only thing too late is Powell. Powell's too late. Too late, Powell.
Have the Iranians reached out to you, Mr. President?
What?
Have the Iranians reached out to you?
Yes.
And what did they say?
I said it's very late. You know? I said it's very late to be talking.
Mr. President?
We may meet. It's. I don't know. There's a big difference between now and a week ago, right? Big difference.
President, you said you may just about said we may meet. Is this about Vance and Witkoff possibly going to talk about?
It's about anybody. They even suggested they come to the White House. It's a big difference. But they've suggested that they come to the White House. That's, you know, courageous, but, you know, it's like not easy for them to do. But they suggested, because I can't go now because of what's going on. I had to come back early from the G7, which was terrific, by the way, in Canada. Really terrific, good people.
Is there a possibility of next week or sooner that
Well, I don't know how much longer it's going to go on. I mean, they're totally defenseless. They have no air defense whatsoever. We've totally captured, you know, we've totally captured the air, Brian.
Yeah, Mr. President, you've been fairly compassionate towards the Iranian people.
I have been. It's human, the human beings. I know a lot of people from Iran, from New York, from Washington, mostly from New York. They're incredible people. They're smart, they're energetic. They can be difficult, but so can you. You know, no, they're great people, smart people. And those people are getting the hell beat out of them now. And it's really a shame. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's another one, you know. Russia, Ukraine is so stupid. Would have never happened if I was president. You guys agree with that, right? Would have never happened if I was president.
Oh,
Putin
man.
would have never done it. And I spoke to him yesterday, and I said, you know, he actually offered to help mediate. I said, do me a favor. Mediate your own. Let's mediate Russia first, okay? I said, Vladimir, let's mediate Russia first. You can worry about this later. But I think that's going to work out too, but it's so many people have been killed.
Oh, man.
The big thing with that one is far more people are dead than have been reported in the Ukraine, Russia. Many, many more people.
Mr.
A building
President,
falls
what
down,
does,
they say nobody was hurt. You know, so.
What does unconditional surrender mean?
Well, you know what it means. Unconditional
Can you
surrender.
explain it for
Two
those who
very simple
don't?
words. Very simple. Unconditional surrender. That means I've had it. Okay, I've had it. I give up. No more.
I give up.
Then we go blow up all the,
Okay.
all the nuclear stuff that's all over the place there. No, they had bad intentions. You know, for 40 years they've been saying death to America, death to Israel, death to anybody else that they didn't like. They were bullies. They were schoolyard bullies. And now they're not bullies anymore, but we'll see what happens. Look, nothing's finished until it's finished. You know, war is very complex. A lot of bad things can happen. A lot of turns are made. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that we won anything yet. I would say that we sure as hell made a lot of progress. And we'll see. The next week is going to be very big. Maybe less than a week. Maybe less. But is there anybody here that said it would be okay to have a hostile, very, zealots really, but to have a hostile country have a nuclear weapon that could destroy 25 miles, but much more than that, could destroy other nations just by the breeze blowing the dust. You know, that dust blows to other nations and they get decimated. This is just not a threat you can have. And we've been threatened by Iran for many years. You know, if you go back and look at my history, if you go back 15 years, I was saying we cannot let Iran get a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time. I mean it more now than I ever meant it. Yeah.
Mr. President, a question on deportations, Mr. President. You said last week that changes would be coming for farmers who have seen a lot of the workers they rely on taken away. But then DHS said this week that worksite enforcement would remain in place, that it's a cornerstone. So what's your message to farmers?
Everybody's right. Look, we got to get the bad people out of here first, and we're doing that. We're taking them out by the thousands. Murderers, drug dealers, people that are mentally insane from insane asylums. What they gave to us, fellas, they gave. Oh, do we have anybody in here that's a member of the? No, I don't think so. You've known all these people for a long time. Any illegal immigrants anymore? If they were, they'll find out.
Right?
They'll be checking you. You won't believe it. Your whole life will be destroyed because of this press conference. Well, they'll destroy these people. I didn't want to tell them that before this did happen. They'll end up being, he's a so-and-so. This one is from you know where. Don't worry. I think you're going to be okay.
Oh, man.
I'll be right behind you. Far behind you. I'll be right behind you. Now, look, we have to take care of our farmers. We have to take care of people that run leisure, hotels. I mean, we have to take care of them. But most importantly, we have to get the criminals out of our country. And Biden let in thousands and 11,888 murderers. Many of them murdered more than one person. Can you believe it? Many, almost 50% of them murdered more than one person. He let them into our country. They emptied out the jails of countries from all over the world, from the Congo, from Venezuela, from all over the place. They emptied out their jails, many of them. I would. If I were running one of the countries, I would have emptied out my prison population into the U.S., and many countries did. And we're getting them out, okay? We're getting them out. Thank you very much. Let's watch this. Brian, go ahead. Are you okay?
I'm just going to follow up on the immigration real quickly.
Yeah.
Can you comment on the impact of the Trump card? How much of that is
Yeah, we have a thing called the Trump card. This has not been done before or thought of. And for $5 million, this is usually people that would either be working for companies like Apple, I think is going to buy a lot of them, because they can't get people into the country. You know, if you come in through the southern border, you have no problem. You can be a criminal, you can be a drug dealer, and you have no problem. But if you go and graduate #1 in your class from a great school, you can't get a job because there's no access to getting it. You can't get a green card. So we're going to sell that to people, in some cases wealthy, in some cases not wealthy. They'll be paid for by universities. Look at Harvard. They got $53 billion. That whole thing is coming to an end. It's amazing what we found out. What a disgrace. They have $53 billion. We gave them 5, 6, and some people say it's as much as $9 billion over a short period of time. So that's very much coming to it. They want to make a deal more than, I would say Harvard wants to make a deal more than Iran wants to make a deal, and Iran wants to make a deal. I mean, a lot of things are happening on a lot of fronts, Brian. A lot of good things are happening. And frankly, you know, it's a little bit of a, as we used to say liberal, now they say progressive. I use the word liberal. Progressive's too nice a word because they're destroying the country. They're really destroying these. the liberal politicians are destroying our country. Look what they've done during Biden's 4 years. I mean, we're working on, I mean, so much of our effort goes to getting people out of the country that should have never been here in the first place. What he's done to this country is not him. He had no idea what was going on. Everybody knows that. It's other people. It's Lisa and this one and that. All these people, all this scum that was around the Oval, you know, the Oval Office or around the beautiful Resolute desk telling this guy, here, do this, do that, and not even telling him. They just go over to the auto pen and sign whatever the hell they wanted to sign. Because say what you want about Biden, he wasn't for open borders. He wasn't for transgender for everybody. He wasn't for men playing in women's sports. But he has no idea what the hell, he has no idea. And they were very upset. They wanted Bernie Sanders. And after about a week of this guy, they said, wait a minute, we just hit gold. This guy has no clue. He'll do anything we tell him. And then they realized they don't even have to get permission. They just go up to the auto pen. That's a subversion. That's a takeover of our government. And you people ought to start looking at it. That's a takeover. Not only did they cheat, I guess you saw yesterday came out with China and the license plates. Tens of thousands of cards. They used those cards to vote on the second election, my second, the one 2020. Because as everybody here knows, I won that election by a lot. But the only good thing I can say is this is a much more historic term than I think I could have had as a second term. This is a much more historic election. And now we're going to put up a beautiful flagpole and we're going to put up a flag. And I hope you enjoy it. And let's see how real people work. These are real people. You're not real people. Your job is too easy. Okay?
Last one around, Mr. President.
How tall is the flagpole?
Close to 100 feet.
Real quick on Pakistan, sir. You have a meeting today with the Pakistani Army Chief of Staff. What are you looking forward to achieving diplomatically?
Well, I stopped a war between Pakistan. I love Pakistan. I think Modi is a fantastic man. I spoke to him last night. We're going to make a trade deal with Modi of India. But I stopped the war between Pakistan and India. This man was extremely influential in stopping it from the Pakistan side, Modi from the India side, and others. And they were going at it, and they're both nuclear countries. I got it stopped. I don't think I had one story. Did I have one story written about it? I stopped a war between two major nations, major nuclear nations. I don't think I had a story written about it, but that's okay. You know why? The people know. The people know.
Mr. President.
Did anybody write that story about the war? Did anybody? Did you write it?
We wrote one.
We all wrote it.
Did you write it?
We, just one more on the
You
Iran,
wrote it.
President. When does your patience run out with?
Adjustments that need to be.
They didn't write nothing. Look at it.
No, we put it so that Marine One is very far away. We did it in conjunction with the Air Force, with everybody, and everybody signed off on it. We have to have it far away. It's very far from Marine One's out there. It's out in the field. So you have to have a certain distance. We're about 3 times that distance. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Prime Minister Netanyahu. Thank you, Press. About getting involved. Thank you, Press.
Get back.
This is by far the greatest president America's had. Look at this guy. Working hard.
You have a good view over there? If you want, you can come over here. Come on over here. Come on over here.
Uh-oh.
Did you?
Mr. President, what do you say to the supreme leader of Iran who says that they will not surrender?
I say good luck.
God luck.
And what is the end
Run
game?
out with Iran.
Say it.
When does your patience run out?
It's already run out. That's why we're doing what we're doing.
You think you could take out?
And they have 60 days and a big, 60 days, plenty of time. And they made a mistake. Honestly, they made a mistake.
If the U.S. does strike
Their
nuclear
country's in
facilities,
ruins. So many people are dead that shouldn't be dead. It's a very sad thing. Let's watch this.
Okay, back. Everybody back.
everybody step back.
Come on over here. You don't have to ruin your shoes. That's why we're changing the grass. People are ruining their shit. Come on over. Some pole. That's a great place. And the wires go inside. It's very rare that you see them. Nice. You know, when they're outside, they're very noisy. They snap in the wind.
Mr. President,
Yeah,
this is a personal project for you, sir.
it is. Yeah. Well, I'm paying for it.
How much are these costing you?
Wow. I'd say each ball is like $50,000.
Is there any update on the ballroom?
Yeah, we start pretty soon.
Where
We
did
have
that
a
go?
beautiful ballroom. Good question. Right here. See your east wind goes from here all. See the big piece of land over here? Goes all the way over to there. Really very good. We're using one of the top architects.
How large will the flags be?
They're big. They're beautiful. They're big.
Mr. President, do you still intend to go to NATO?
Yeah, I'll be good. Think so. Amazing equipment, isn't it? When you think, huh?
Like hardworking
What they
people of
what they
America.
do, the mind, what they can develop. No, look, they don't know what we're doing. They don't know it's tough, it's easy. They just want to put up flags and go to work. These are great workers.
What gave you the idea to do this?
I've had it for a long time. The first time I had it, but you know, you guys were after me. I said I had to focus. I was the hunted, and now
I'm the hunter.
It's a big difference. Big
Nice to be
difference.
the hunter.
But he was the same no matter what.
Yeah, it is surprising that out of all the presidents we've had, that this has never taken place.
Look at it.
It's crazy.
Look, there's a little flagpole that's like 15
Yeah,
feet
and
high.
no one
A
can
little
see.
tiny flag up top. This is the real deal. This is the best you can get. There's nothing like this. You know, most of them are 20 feet, 25 feet. This is close to 100 feet. And I think it's a great location, too. You know, you put it out there, people don't appreciate it.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we're going to do a flower bed around it, beautiful flower bed.
Oh, is that where that open
bigger
spot
than
is?
that.
Oh, okay.
So you have the pole and then you have the flower.
When are you going to come out here and hit some golf balls? When you find time in your schedule.
35 club championships. You all know
I know that.
35 club championships. I haven't hit a ball in
35 club champions.
3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Time to get out there.
It's time to get a little busy. Would you rather have me be doing what I'm doing now? I think,
Of course.
in the end. See the way they have that hoisted? It's great.
Wow.
Because if you lift it up from one, you have to lift it from the bottom, but you have to get it there. But if you lifted it from without that, the whole thing would split
So interesting.
because it's in big sections. And they connect so incredibly.
Mr. President, while we're watching, could I ask, when was the last time you spoke with Governor Newsom?
The phone call that he said I didn't make, that I documented. Did you see that? I haven't spoken to
They
him.
showed
I
the
know,
screenshot.
it's
That,
screenshot.
that was the last time?
That was the last.
Any changes to the troops being deployed there?
No, I won the case yesterday. I didn't read that I won it because I don't think anybody wrote it. They only write them and lose it.
Mr. President,
Did you notice I won the case?
Ninth Circuit.
You know what's interesting here is that when it goes in, they then put sand inside. And if they use dirt or anything else other than sand, it rots out the pole over a period of years. But sand, for some reason, chemically just works.
You think you'll
It
deploy
gives you flexibility, and it doesn't do anything to the cast. It's amazing. So watch that's 9 feet deep, and then, boy, it's it's a perfect pole for
Oh,
this.
so it's going 9 feet down.
It goes 9 feet
Okay.
down, and then there's nothing in there right now. Just the tube goes 9 feet down, and when they fill it with sand, pure sand, absolutely pure sand. If they didn't, the chemicals they work on the bottom part. Is that interesting to anybody? No.
So you prefer
Well,
the
you're
rope on the
good.
inside of the pole?
Oh, much better. First of all, it looks better. I mean, I've never seen it on this. This is the newest and the greatest. I've never seen it at Mar-a-Lago. I have a similar pole, not quite as tall as this, but the rope's on the outside, and you hear that rope banging.
Clanging all the time.
What's that little thing sticking up out of the top, sir? It's the little thing sticking out.
The
What is
ball?
that? Yeah, the bar. What is that?
Finial.
Like the little pin?
Oh, I see. That's so they can hook up the ropes. They put the rope in later.
sometimes you see an eagle on top of the flagpoles.
I like this better. This is a little more classy.
Mr.
I'm a big eagle person, as you probably know, but this looks better.
Mr. President, can you share some of what you've told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu?
How is it gonna tell?
Keep going. What do I say?
Have you given him any
I speak to him every day. He's a good man, doing a lot. Been very unfairly treated by his country, I think. Very unfairly treated.
Have you given him any indication that you may seek to aid them more than you have already?
No, I haven't done it. So far, he's done a good job. He has been treated very unfairly by his country. You know, he's a wartime president, and he's going through this nonsense. It's ridiculous.
It seems like you agree with him that...
With who?
Yeah, the National Security Council.
It's a very good meeting, yeah.
Anything that came up in particular that?
Well, little things, big things, but good meeting. It's working well.
It seems like
See
you
how straight that is? Look, they put that dead straight, and then they pour in the sand. It's amazing, right? Who would think you have to have sand? And it's got to be a very pure sand.
I know you enjoy being president. Do you ever miss building things?
I love
those?
construction.
Yeah. It's in your heart, isn't it?
Well, I love it. I know it better than anybody. When I see a train, a railroad going from San Francisco to L.A., I think it's 100 times over budget.
It's incredible.
One of the most incompetent things. That's Newscom.
And why do they keep funding that?
I think we're not going to anymore. In fact, a little bit of a story. We're not going to fund that anymore. It's out of control. First of all, it doesn't go where it's supposed to. It's supposed to go from L.A. to San Francisco. Now, because they don't have any money, they've spent, 30, 40 times more than it was supposed to spend. And they made it much shorter because it no longer goes into the cities. It stops miles outside of the cities.
Because if you were a builder and you went 34 times over the budget, you would be fired, right?
If you went one time, if you went a half a time over the budget. So see what they're doing? They're unwrapping the sand. It's all pure sand.
Along those lines,
and if it weren't pure sand, it would eat away at the metal.
Mr. President, with the rail funding in California, will your recent dust-ups with Governor Newsom impact additional wildfire relief out there? They've requested $40 billion.
Sure, maybe. The man's incompetent. He shouldn't have fires like that. You clean the floor of your forest, and you won't have any forest. You know,
shout out to the GOAT one more time, man. Shout out to the GOAT, Dr. Luke. He says Trump doesn't look worried one little bit. He doesn't look worried. Y'all remember yesterday when Iran said they were gonna, and it's gonna, America's never gonna forget. Man, please.
Austria has very, very flammable trees. They don't have forest fires because they clean the floors. They maintain their forests. It's good, in fact. You know, hatred is never a good thing in politics. When you don't like somebody, don't respect somebody, it's harder for that person to get money if you're on top. But he's done a bad job.
How will you ensure that...
I'll tell you one thing, if I didn't bring in the military to Los Angeles, you wouldn't even have a... You probably wouldn't be here. You'd be covering the riots in Los Angeles right now. And we got a great ruling, as you know, yesterday from the judge. The absolute right. If we didn't bring in the military in Los Angeles, you would have maybe no city. You'd have just what you have with the housing, burned to the ground.
How will you ensure that
what they're doing is they take this out.
With the ruling
Mr. President, it seems like you agree with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah, well, with the ruling yesterday, does that mean you're more empowered to send National Guard to other cities as well, maybe New York?
I don't think more empowered. I always thought I was empowered. It would be a shocking ruling. Only a guy like Newsom would even ask for it. You know, he should be thanking me instead of fighting.
Oh, God.
Newsom he wouldn't have a city. Right now it would be burning to the ground. You'd have people running all over, throwing rocks. Did you see them breaking up the concrete? Because we caught the bricks. They were bringing bricks, heavy bricks, red bricks, by the bag. 5 or 6 big bags. The guys strong guys that could hardly even carry them. They were going to hand them out to people to throw at the police. And by the way, the chief of police in Los Angeles said that we needed the help. If we didn't have the help, we would have been in trouble. Now, he changed his mind 4 days later, because he put a little bit. But, and he actually needed it more then. But we did a great job. We quelled that thing. And the fact that we are even there thinking about going in, they won't bother with it anymore. They'll go someplace else, but we'll be there too. We'll be wherever they go, we're going to be.
Did you see the main numbers for immigration?
Oh, man.
Yeah, great numbers.
0.
Yeah, we had 0. Did you see that, everybody?
You were going to ask that.
0.
I was going to ask that.
She's on our side now. because most people don't want to ask me
Well,
that.
she said, she told earlier, she Brian, you see the main numbers, it's zero.
Zero, yeah.
How is that even?
Because we really have a tight border. Now, we have let a lot of people in, but they came in legally. They actually have to take a little test, and they have to say, I love America, you know, minor things like that.
Bigger things like that.
Mr. President, can we talk about extending Quick Talk event?
Yeah, we'll be extending it. We're going to extend it. We're going to probably make a deal. I think we'll need China's blessing on it, and I think they'll bless it.
How was Prime Minister Carney towards you?
Very good.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been nicer. We enjoyed the Canada stay a lot, and you know, I had to come back obviously for what's happening in the Middle East, but I got everything done. He's a good man. I think Carney's a good man. Very well, a good representative of Canada.
You think he's liked by the people?
I think so, yeah.
Mr. President, have you given the Iranians an ultimatum?
You could say so. They know what's happening. Maybe you could call it the ultimate ultimatum, right?
What essentially was that, though? What do you mean?
I don't want to say it. Look, I mean, give me a break.
Give me a break.
I would say the elder, she's doing great. She's doing great.
Oh, God.
She's really enjoying it. Barron's enjoying it. All my kids are enjoying it, actually. It's pretty hot out here, isn't it?
Is this, what's muggier, the DC or West Palm Beach in the summer?
I think this is muggier. This is a muggy.
Mr. President, could I ask you about the Paramount deal and the merger with Skydance and the Ellisons? Like, what's holding that up, and like, do you see that being resolved?
I hope so. Ellison's great. They'll do a great job with it. But so what they did is they interviewed 60 Minutes. They interviewed Kamala. Her answer was horrendous. I would say election threatening. This is the day before the election. Her answer was election threatening or so incompetent. So they took the entire answer out, and they took another answer to another question and put it in. And they did that, I understand, a number of times, but you don't have to do it a number of times. The main question they asked, and we caught them. And they're very embarrassed by it, and they're working on a settlement now. But think of it, did you ever hear that one before? They took the entire, every word, threw it out, put another answer. Do you think they do that for me?
I think it happens daily.
Mr. President.
Well, I've never seen it. I thought I've seen everything. That I've never seen. And it's very embarrassing. The head of 60 Minutes got fired. The head of CBS got fired. They're all getting fired.
But do you think that
See what they're doing here?
What are they doing right now?
This is only if you're in construction. This is exciting. See, they have to get it perfectly straight. And once it's perfect, then they pour in the sand, and it's there for 100 years.
Mr. President, as the Senate works on the big, beautiful bill, it seems like SALT is going to be a really big issue between Senate Republicans and House Republicans. So what are you telling senators? Because the New York Republicans on the House side are making clear that that's a red line for them.
Well, if it were a red line, then get ready for a 68% tax increase in 1929, because we're taking care of that issue too. You know what that is? That's debt ceiling. The debt ceiling, we have to move the debt. And if we don't move the debt, it's, you violate covenants. It's a terrible thing. Actually, Pocahontas even agreed with me on that. She's been wanting to get rid of the debt ceiling because she said it's too violent. It is violent. So, I mean, anybody that votes against it, they voted to give a 68% tax increase, and many other bets. There would be no money for the border. You know, we have billions of dollars allocated to immigration, the border, keeping criminals out, getting criminals out too. If that doesn't pass, you'll get a 68% tax increase. And I would say this, any senator that votes against it, and that includes Democrats, I think they'll be finished in politics.
On SALT specifically, do you think Senate Republicans or House Republicans will have to bend more in order to get the bill at large?
I don't know. We're going to see how it works out. It's a very difficult issue, to be honest with you. It's very difficult, and I understand both sides, but we'll just have to see. Hopefully a compromise or something's going to be made, but it's a very difficult issue. But remember that, people say, what do you think? 68% tax, so all those numbers I told you, how well the economy is doing, it all gets wiped out. You'd have the largest tax increase in history by far, by 3 times, if they don't get the big, beautiful deal. I always say the great, big, beautiful deal. I put the word great in there. They took that out.
It's going to be great, great.
If we get that passed, it'll be the best, one of the greatest pieces. And that's just the beginning of a lot of things that are going to happen. Because we're going to get numbers down. We're going to get them way down. But that's the beginning. That's a big first step. But it's the most important piece of legislation. In terms of dollar value and everything else, there's nothing as big as that.
Speaking of
they thought that might be 7 or 8 bills. It's all in one.
Speaking of taxes, starting in July 1st, California is upping their tax on gasoline again per gallon. I mean, that's...
Well, I beat the California mandate. Congress just passed a bill ending it. That was terrible. So what they were saying, everybody by 2030 has to have an electric car. People don't want it. I'm all for electric cars, but you have to want one. And right now it's about 7%. But they were forcing everybody to have it. I ended that. And now they're coming out with more. No, in California, we've got some gas stations where just 2 weeks ago, it was $1.98, $1.99. We've got the gas down below. Then we have this little situation which will drive it up a little bit, but very little. And it's going to come down again. Going to give people a lot of extra money. Groceries are down. Eggs are down. The eggs. Right? They hit me the first
Eggs
week
are down.
eggs.
Eggs.
But no, I think that
eggs. I need to eat some eggs.
I do whenever they talk about Gavin Newsom, I say, look at the railroad. Look at the railroad. It's not even possible. Do you think he comes out and sees the construction workers? I don't think so.
I don't think he put an American flag in front of the Capitol in Sacramento either.
Mr. President, some of your supporters are split on the U.S. response to...
Who are you with?
CNN.
No.
There's a split,
Fake
though.
news. Fortunately, nobody watches.
But my question
is anybody watching CNN nowadays? I haven't seen it in a long time.
But some of your supporters are wary
God.
of the U.S. getting involved in another foreign wall, and some believe that we should support.
Do you ever ask a positive question?
No, they don't.
My supporters are more in love with me today, and I'm in love with them more than they were even at election time, where we had a total
CNN is fried, yo.
We had, we won all 7 swing states. Did CNN report that? We won all 7 out of 7, which everyone said would be almost impossible. We won by millions of votes. We won 2,750 districts versus 505 districts. Think of that, 2,750 versus 505. And CNN...
I think what she might be alluding to is the base is going to stay with you regardless. And you've gone through different tests, regardless. But some of the people in the base don't want a long-term war. They're afraid that we're going to get into a long-term war.
We're not looking for a long-term war. We're looking... I only want one thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Right. That's it. I'm not looking long-term, short-term. And I've been saying that for 20 years. I've been saying it as a civilian who got a lot of publicity. People would cover it. Very simply, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That's it. It's not a question of anything else. And if you did, you wouldn't have much of a country, because they would use it on us and they'd use it on other people, and they'd be a terror all over the world. So I may have some people that are a little bit unhappy now, but I have some people that are very happy, and I have people outside of the base that can't believe that this is happening. They're so happy. And there was a poll that just came out today that my approval rating's the highest it's ever been. All I'm doing is saying you can't have a nuclear weapon. And I tried to do it nicely, and then on day 61 I said, let's go, because we can't let that happen. And I've been saying it for 20 years. But, okay, I'm going to leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, guys.
OG status, man. Look at him. Look at him. There you go. Commander-in-Chief. The 45th, now the 47th President of the United States. Look, this is the OG right here. All right, here we go. Thank y'all for tuning in, man. Here we go. Here we go.
Well, thank you very much. We have a great team behind us. Juventus of Italy, and a friend of mine is the owner of the team. He's a fantastic business person, a young guy, and I think it's got the longest string of ownership of just about any sports franchise, but it does have the record in soccer. It's John Elkman. I think you know John Elkman is a man that has done a fantastic job in the automobile industry, comes from a lineage of winners. And you have Johnny Infantino, as you know, and he's going to have the world.
Shout out to the GOAT. Shout out to the GOAT, Dr. Luke. God bless you, Dr. Luke. It says, there is nothing like having a friendly conversation right in front of people that cannot stand you. Haha. Of course, they can't stand you because you're actually saying the facts. And we're just having a friendly conversation, just like the GOAT said. This is a friendly conversation. You don't have to. Why y'all always make it about you versus me versus you? We are Americans, okay? It doesn't matter if you're a liberal or a conservative. It does not matter. We are having a conversation in the chat. Be productive in the chat, okay? Don't be out here calling people names. If you're calling people names, you're definitely going to sleep.
World Cup here. We have a game tonight. The game is, where is it, over in D.C., the stadium?
Here, yeah. Holyfield.
And it's totally sold out, I hope.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, good. Well, and you have two great American players on this team. And would you just, where are you, my American players? Fantastic. So good luck.
Thank you.
I hope you're going to be the two best players on the field. Okay? Well, I just thought you might want to ask questions, anything about the World Cup or the game tonight, but anything about the World Cup would be great, and Johnny's right here. So, anybody have any questions? And I hope you like the. Well, I'm a little, you know, he's a friend of mine. It's hard to go against him, to be honest with you. But they have a good team. Who are you playing tonight?
We're playing against the Emirati team.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's
strong.
Good. Well, they spend a lot of money, right? They pay a lot of money. Yeah, it's probably. Is it a strong team? Good team tonight? Yeah,
all teams are good. It's the best teams in the world who are here in America.
Right, Johnny? You think?
Best teams in the world are here.
That's what. Well, we raised the American flag for you guys today.
Well, it's quite a historic day.
Looks nice out there, doesn't it? Beautiful. Even you agree, right? I think so. Do you agree? No. Most of you agree.
Oh, God.
So, do you have any questions, please?
Do you know the
Of
latest
course
on
they
the
have
evacuations
questions.
out of Israel, Mr. President? Have
No.
you been updated on that?
No, we're having a meeting in an hour. We have a meeting downstairs in 1 hour. Yeah.
Mr. President, on Iran, if regime change does happen there, if the regime falls, do you have a plan for what you think would happen
I
there?
have a plan for everything, but we'll see what happens. Got a ways to go. They should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet, and they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House. So we'll see. I may do that, but it's a shame it could have been done the easy way.
Do you think the regime there could fall?
Sure, anything could happen, right? Of that, sure, that could happen. Yeah,
Mr.
please.
President, the Senate Judiciary Committee is holding a hearing on who exactly was running the White House under Joe Biden. Who do you think that was?
I think the auto pen ran the White House. You know, we have an auto pen president before me. I think it's one of the greatest scandals in the history of this country, one of the biggest scandals. He wasn't making a decision. He was never for open borders where people came in from all over the world, from prisons and gangs and drug dealers and all of that, the mentally insane. He was never for that. He was never for open borders, and he was never for, if you think, he was never for transgender for everybody, or men playing in women's sports. You know, he was never for that. Have you ever had women? Could a woman make your team, fellas? Tell me. You think? You're being nice. What do you think? Think a woman could make the team? General managers, what do you think?
Difficult.
You don't say it. Close.
We have a very good women's team now.
You do have, right? Yeah. But they should be playing with women, right? You know, it's one of those things. One of those things. See, they're very diplomatic.
As you're making your decision on Iran, obviously there's been a change from when you were pursuing a diplomatic negotiation.
Yeah.
Now you seem very open to the idea of potentially taking U.S. action. Obviously, you're not going to tell us that. Can you walk us through what contributed to that change, how you got to where you are in making your decision now?
Well, I think it started the first night. I mean, you know, that first night was devastating. And it really knocked the one side off, as you know. It was a devastating evening, day. And it's pretty much proceeded that way. I have a meeting in the war room in a little while, situation room as some people call it. So we're going to meet, we're going to see. We're in the midst of it's a terrible thing. I hate to see it. I hate to see all that death, so much death and destruction. But death primarily is what I hate to see.
Does that mean you haven't made a decision yet on what to do?
I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due, you know, because things change. I mean, especially with war, things change with war. It can go from one extreme to the other. War is very bad. There was no reason for this to be a war. There was no reason for Russia, Ukraine. A lot of wars there was no reason for. You know? You look right up there, I don't know, see the Declaration of Independence, and I say, I wonder if you know, the Civil War always seemed to me maybe that could have been solved without losing 600,000 plus people. So a lot of, it's very sad to see. It's very sad to see what's happening. But with that being said, I would say right now, Israel, from the standpoint of winning a war, is doing pretty well. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, in your meeting today with the Chief of Staff of the Pakistani Army, did you talk about Iran? Did that come up? Is there anything you can share from that meeting?
Yeah, well, they know Iran very well, better than most. And they're not happy about anything. It's not that they're bad with Israel. They know them both, actually, but they're probably, maybe they know Iran better. But they see what's going on, and he agreed with me. The reason I had him here, I wanted to thank him for not going into the war, just, you know, ending the war. And I want to thank, as you know, Prime Minister Modi just left, just a little while ago, just left. And we're working a trade deal with India. We're working a trade deal with Pakistan. And they were both here. But I was with Modi a few weeks ago. He was here, actually. But now we speak to him. And I'm so happy. There was a deal that two smart people, plus, you know, they have people on their staff too, but two very smart people decided not to keep going with that war. That could have been a nuclear war. Those are two nuclear powers, big ones, big nuclear powers, and they decided that. So I was honored to meet him today.
And if I can, Steve, sir, and for anyone who may want to answer, how has the travel bans from certain countries affected fans maybe coming in for the games, or is that not a consideration?
Johnny, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's not a concern for us. For the games now in the Club World Cup, everything has been done in a very smooth way. We have an excellent collaboration, of course, with the president, but with the task force in particular. For next year, the World Cup, we have one more year to work, and the learnings that we have this year with the Club World Cup, which is historic, I say this to all the Americans, because it's the first ever Club World Cup, and it's played in the United States of America. So the learnings we'll have for this will apply them next year.
And they're largely sold out, so I don't know. I don't think he's too worried about the travel ban. He doesn't know what the travel ban is, I don't think. Johnny, tell me what the travel ban is. He doesn't know what it is. He's largely sold out. Like tonight is totally. I've had friends, they heard about this meeting. They said, can you give me tickets? I don't know if I can get tickets. He won't give them to me.
We can speak.
Maybe John will give them to me. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, two questions, if I could. One about Iran and then one domestically. With Iran, what's your message to Americans, both here and abroad, who are not only concerned about the U.S. potentially getting involved in another conflict in the Middle East, but worry about the potential for retaliation here at home?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get involved either, but I've been saying for 20 years, maybe longer, that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time. And I think they were a few weeks away from having one. And they had to sign a document. I think they wish they signed it now. It was a fair deal. And now it's a harder thing to sign, you know. It's a lot of water over the dam. But, you know, it's very, I say it very simply, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Too much devastation. And they'd use it, you know, I believe they'd use it. Others won't use it, but I believe they'd use it. So that's it. It's very simple as far as I'm concerned. They can't have a nuclear weapon.
And then domestically, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley came out this week as the lead sponsor of a bill to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. It stands out because he's a Republican. There's still 20 states that have it at $7.25. Do you support the legislation or the idea?
Well, I haven't seen it. I'd have to speak to Josh. He's a very good friend of mine. That's interesting that Josh did that. I'm gonna have to think about that one. Some people agree with it, some people don't. You know, some people say it really turns away business. Restaurants close, and a lot of things happen. Other people agree. I'd have to speak to Josh. He's a good guy.
Mr. President, for the Iran, the possibility of an Iran deal, is the destruction or the dismantling of the Fordow nuclear enrichment center, is that a prerequisite for a deal? Is that a red line for you?
No, it's just something that people talk about having. We're the only ones that have the capability to do it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do it at all. Yeah, we have the best military equipment in the world. You see that with this fight. We have planes that are undetectable, flying around like, you know, nobody's able to see them stealth. You guys want to be stealthy tonight. You know, you can be stealth, you'll never lose, right? But these are incredible planes and weapons. We have the best weapons in the world, by far. Nobody close. And I mean, certain countries take advantage of that. Israel has incredible weaponry. So we'll see what happens. I've been asked about it by everybody, but I haven't made a decision.
Mr. President, you talked earlier today about having daily conversations with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Yeah.
How have those conversations weighed on you in terms of getting more involved? He's been lobbying for the U.S. to get more involved. Has that had an impact in kind of your evolution, sir?
Look, we talk, and I'd like to see everything done. I would have preferred having just an agreement, a strong agreement, you know, verifiable agreement. But it was such a shame. They were so close. You know, Iran was very close to signing what would have been a very good agreement for them. And maybe that could still happen, I guess, you know. They do want to come and see us. They want to see me in the White House. That's a big statement. But it's very late.
Is it enough of a statement to hold off getting involved?
We're going to see what happens. Look, we're going to see what happens. Ending it as soon as you can would be good.
Have you closed the door on meeting with them?
No.
Okay, so it's still open to them coming here in your eyes.
I mean, they asked if they could come. We'll see if that happens. It's not that easy for them to come. They can't get out. You know, they're in Iran, and in one case, the guy wanted to come so badly, but he can't get out because there's bombs dropping all over the place.
Have you seen the Tucker Carlson, Senator Ted Cruz interview? It seems like this issue on whether or not the United States should strike is kind of dividing a lot of your supporters.
No, my supporters are for me. My supporters are America first. They make America great again. My supporters don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon. Tucker's a nice guy. He called and apologized the other day because he thought he said things that were a little bit too strong, and I appreciated that. And Ted Cruz is a nice guy. I mean, he's been with me for a long time. I'd say once the race was over, he's been with me ever since, right? But very simple. If they think that it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, then they should oppose me. But nobody thinks it's okay. People that don't want, I don't want to fight either. I'm not looking to fight. But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do. Maybe we won't have to fight. Don't forget, we haven't been fighting. We add a certain amount of genius to everything, but we haven't been fighting at all. Israel's done a very good job of that. But we'll see what happens. The bottom line is they can't have nuclear. And if I can't imagine that Ted Cruz said it's okay for Iran to have nuclear, including Tucker. I don't think Tucker says it's okay. The problem is then they get themselves into a thing. They don't want them to have nuclear, but then they say, well, we don't want to fight. Well, you're going to have to make a choice because it's possible that you're going to have to fight for them not to have nuclear. And it's interesting because I did ask Tucker, I said, well, are you okay with nuclear weapons being in the hands of Iran? And he sort of didn't like that. He didn't want to really, but he sort of didn't like that. And I said, well, if it's okay with you, then you and I do have a difference. But it's really not okay with him. Therefore, you may have to fight, and maybe it'll end, and maybe it'll end very quickly. But there's no way that you can allow, whether you have to fight or not, you can allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon because the entire world will blow up. I'm not going to let that happen.
Mr. President, on the southern border,
you had a bit of a row with President Emmanuel Macron of France the other day at the G7,
No,
it sounded like.
he's a nice guy. Look, he said I was going back home to make a ceasefire. Not a ceasefire. We're long beyond ceasefire. And I said, why do you say that? Why would you say ceasefire? It's a bad term to use. Because a ceasefire means like everything's going swimmingly, we'll take a little time off. It's not. We're not looking for a ceasefire. We're looking for a total, complete victory. Again, you know what the victory is. No nuclear weapon.
Mr. President.
So I thought it was a very badly worded statement by him, and obviously I let him know that.
On the southern border, you've had record low numbers for the month of May, 95 apprehensions, 0 releases, compared to that of the previous administration exactly a year ago, more than 60,000 releases. What do you attribute that success to?
I like you. Who are you with?
Turning Point USA, sir.
Well, they're very good. Turning Point. Charlie, very good. That's what I call a good question, fellas. 1 out of 10, John. 1 out of 10, but that's a really good question. No, we had record good numbers on the border. And people are coming in, but they have to come in legally. Like some of these guys behind me, they have to come in legally. And if they come in legally, we want them. They have to say they love America, they love our country. And if they can't say that, we don't want them. Thank you very much. Very nice. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, press.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, press.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
The most transparent president in American history, right there.
First, let's go right to Mike Tobin with the latest on the ground in Tel Aviv. Mike.
Hey there, Todd. The Iranian ballistic missile attacks continued here in central Israel overnight. There were 2 separate attacks that came just after midnight local time that caused people here in Tel Aviv in particular to scramble for the bomb shelters. The missile defense systems did their jobs. Multiple explosions in the skies over Tel Aviv. Several missiles did reach the ground. A parking lot was hit. No reports of injury. Israeli warplanes were active last night. The IDF says some 50 fighter jets took to the air and hit some 20 targets in Iran overnight. The targets include sites that produce raw materials and components for missiles. Israel sent warnings into southwest Tehran for people to evacuate before targets were struck there.
We've struck deep, hitting Iran's nuclear, ballistic, and command capabilities. The Iranian regime has spent years getting closer to a nuclear weapon. They have spent billions building a ballistic missile program. Our mission is clear: to remove the threat at its source.
The U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem announced it is closing during this stage of the conflict. This follows damage to the U.S. consulate in Tel Aviv caused by a missile impact. No injuries resulting from that. It is also in step with most of the businesses in Israel closing while the missile attacks continue. President Trump and Iran's leader traded shots over social media. President Trump posting unconditional surrender, implying that is meant for the Grand Ayatollah. Khamenei, for his part, posted the battle begins 6 days into this stage of the conflict. Carly and Todd.
Mike, for so long, Iran has used its terror proxies, Hezbollah and the Houthis, to do their dirty work. Have those groups said anything about jumping into this and helping Iran out now?
Well, the Houthis have fired several missiles in the direction of Israel at this point. We have out of Lebanon word certainly that the president, Joseph Aoun, is encouraging Hezbollah to stay out of the fight. Keep in mind that Hezbollah has been badly weakened since this war began following October 7th. And the people of Lebanon have endured now 4,000 people who have been killed during this stage of the conflict and $11 billion in damage. So you can see why Lebanon's president is encouraging Hezbollah to stay out of it.
Yeah.
Carly?
Yeah, what a difference a pager attack makes. Mike Tobin, live for us in Tel Aviv. Mike, thank you so much. Let's go now to former Assistant Secretary of State Brian Hook. Brian, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. What options do President Trump have on the table right now?
Well, I think the president's chief focus, based on what he said, is the diplomatic track, which he has been pursuing with Steve Witkoff after many rounds of talks with the Iranian regime to try to reach a diplomatic solution to this urgent problem of Iran's nuclear program. But the Iranians have been playing cat and mouse diplomacy for quite some time now, and I think patience is wearing thin with this sort of tactic, which is a hallmark of the Iranian regime. As President Trump said in the first term, Iran has never won a war and never lost a negotiation. This is what Iran is good at. But I think after all these rounds of inconclusive talk and Israel being so successful at degrading Iran's nuclear and military capabilities, the United States now has to take a serious look at what to do to strengthen the diplomatic track through the military option.
Okay, let's pick it up there. The prevailing wisdom is that there would not be boots on the ground in any Iranian war. Assuming you agree with that, as President Trump makes this calculus as to whether or not we're going to join this war or not and how we would join it, what are the cons to joining if American boots would not be on the ground? And presumably, if our first salvo in joining this war is the bunker buster bomb?
Well, the president has a good group of people around him advising him on a range of options. So far, America's involvement in this conflict has been on the defensive side, helping Israel defend itself from the Iranian missile attacks that were described earlier. And so I think now the president clearly giving an option for the Iranian leader to come and sort this out peacefully. There are a range of offensive options that I think are before the president, and he's weighing those, based on circumstances on the ground. But that can be helping with refueling missions. It can involve joint strikes with the Israelis, and it also can involve an American bomber taking out the nuclear facility in Iran, which is the most significant of all of the nuclear facilities in Fordo.
Yeah. And Brian, if the Iranian nuclear threat is eliminated, what message does that send to Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping?
I think it strengthens President Trump's hand globally in other conflicts. If he is successful, either through a peaceful route, which I think is the preferred route, or something more kinetic, if he were to be successful in taking out this decades-long problem of the Iranian nuclear program, I do think it would strengthen his hand globally. Obviously, this is enormously complicated, the sort of the factors and the decisions that are before the president. But Iran now has enough enriched uranium for many nuclear weapons. And so it is becoming a mounting threat that Israel has done a terrific job at degrading, but has not yet eliminated.
If Iran finally realizes that it is losing, but still refuses to surrender unconditionally, as Donald Trump has asked, what's the worst it could do at this point? In other words, if it wanted to go out in a blaze of glory.
I think that option set is shrinking. Iran has the largest missile inventory of any country in the Middle East, but Israel has taken out so many of its missile launchers. And there's this huge imbalance that it was a vulnerability that the Israelis have exploited with the Iranian regime, that they have more missiles than they have launchers. It's quite a lopsided ratio. Israel has now taken out anywhere between a third and a half of these missile launchers. And as you've seen night after night, the number of strikes conducted by Iran has gone down fairly dramatically. And this has allowed Israel to achieve dominance over the skies of Iran, where they can fly as they wish. So that is a huge accomplishment. Israel did in 72 hours what President Putin in Russia still has not done over 3.5 years in Ukraine, to achieve aerial dominance. So the conditions are much more favorable than they were just a few days ago.
Yeah, and I'm hearing that the ease with which Israel was able to control Iranian airspace even surprised some officials within Israel. So it's 5:08 in the morning on the East Coast. We will see what today brings for the region and the whole world.
Like the wonderful C. Shelley said in the comment section, pray for peace. All right? Pray for peace.
We have the Senate Majority Leader John Thune is with us. Majority Leader Thune, welcome back. Appreciate it. Number one state sponsor of terror. Tens, if not hundreds of thousands through their proxies and themselves. Missiles fired into Israel. How many missiles would it take for Americans to get up in arms if they were fired into American towns and cities? I don't think the number would be high. Probably one would do it.
Yeah, not No, it wouldn't take many, Sean, and that's what Israel's facing on a daily basis, and that's what the rest of the world will be facing if Iran continues its reign of terror. I mean, they have menaced that region and the world now for 50 years, and it's high time that that stop. And I think President Trump is in a position, whether by diplomacy or supporting Israel and what they're doing, whether it comes forcefully or voluntarily, Iran needs to end its nuclear program. It's as simple as that. That's got to be the end state.
Let me go to this one big beautiful bill. There are differences in the House and Senate version. For example, President Trump said no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. The Senate version creates new deductions for taxes on tips and overtime pay and car loan interest, but does not make them fully deductible. Tips are up to $25,000 through 2028. Overtime up to $12,500 through 2028, or $25,000 for joint filers. I would imagine there's going to be, in conference, some tension over that. Your thoughts?
Well, look, I think, Sean, on all those are the president's priorities. They were incorporated in the House bill. We incorporated them in the Senate bill. We've got draft text out there. Obviously, we think that there's some income, putting some income limitations on those things doesn't affect the amount that most people are going to benefit from. I mean, if you're making $1 million in tips, then yeah, maybe. But I think for the most part, this is designed to help working Americans, people who are getting up every day, going to work, and this gives them some relief. And I think that's what the president was focused on, is delivering relief for working class families. That's why we lock in the rates, the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act rates. We make permanent the expanded child tax credit and the increased standard deduction. And then you add those four things that the president campaigned on. So this will be a good, strong bill for middle-income Americans when it comes to tax relief. And then, of course, there are all kinds of other things, as you know, in it that we think it needs to be passed. We believe that the president and the House and the Senate are all going to be on the same page when it's all said and done, and we'll get a bill that we can put on his desk that he'll be happy with and that the American people will benefit from, make us both stronger and more prosperous.
Let's talk about Medicaid, and the Democrats are trying to demagogue it. You'd cap provider taxes at 3.5% by 2031, down from the current 6%. There's an increase in spending, but you are removing fraud as part of the process. There are restrictions if you're able-bodied, et cetera. Little variation from the House version. Where do you see that ultimately landing in conference there?
We want to make sure that we are rooting out the Biden-era waste, fraud, and abuse in the Medicaid program and making sure that it's targeted and directed, Sean, at the people for whom it was intended. And if you're an illegal immigrant, or you're somebody who's ineligible for the program, or you're an able-bodied adult who should be working to benefit from it, those are reforms that root out waste, fraud, and abuse. And the provider tax is something that's been gamed by a lot of states through the years. And so, yeah, we tighten some things up. We make the program more workable, strengthened, and improved, and targeted to the people who really need it. And it was designed to help out, pregnant moms and disabled and elderly Americans. That's what Medicaid is there for. It's gotten way out of context. And by the way, it does increase at a slower rate. I mean, everybody's talking, the Democrats are out there clamoring, screaming about cutting Medicaid. It doesn't cut Medicaid. It slows the rate of growth. And we've got to slow the rate of growth, or that program is going to be unsustainable, just like a lot of other federal programs that have been growing out of control.
Slow the rate of growth means that's important because you're growing the programs. You're not cutting anything, and you are putting in work requirements for able-bodied people, but you're still increasing spending, but you're making it more manageable so it doesn't head towards insolvency. I think that's an important distinction. Let me ask you about two last things. The SALT deduction, state and local tax deductions. It was a big deal for blue state Republicans. Up for re-election, obviously, in 26. The House version goes to $40,000. The Senate version goes to $10,000. I imagine there'll be some negotiation there. And you were very clear this week that you plan to keep the Senate open through the 4th of July recess. I assume the 4th of July also, if necessary, to get this thing across the finish line. Is that still the plan?
It is, and the SALT is something that we will negotiate. We realize we got to pass a bill through the House. Now you now live in a low tax state, Sean, so you might probably share the view that I do, that we shouldn't have low-tax states subsidizing high-tax states on the east and west coast. So that's kind of where the Senate is, but we know we got to get 218 in the House. So we're in the, we're going to be negotiating this with our House colleagues, and obviously the White House, the President and his team will be involved with that, and we'll get there. But, these are all, it's a work in progress, and we got a lot of people with ideas that are coming at us, but the text is out there. We're going to be working over the course of the next week to get it through all the bird bath tests that we have to go through in the Senate and have a bill on the floor that we can start voting on sometime next week.
Majority Leader Thune, we appreciate you.
What do you guys think about the great, big, beautiful bill? Some people have their reservations, but let me know in the chat. What do you guys think about the great, big, beautiful bill? All right, here we go.
Donald Trump's ordering the Iranians to surrender unconditionally. Last night, he warned everybody to flee the capital, and now Tehran's a ghost town. Surgical strikes target Iranian nuclear scientists and military commanders have taken their toll. Windows have turned to powder, and the lobby of buildings are gone. Overnight, Israel continued to pummel missile and drone infrastructure in the western part of the country. Tel Aviv says they've destroyed over 120 Iranian missile launchers since Thursday. That's about 40% of their missile capacity. They also took out Iran's top general early this morning. He was only at the job for 4 days after his old boss was executed. Israel's already slaughtered 11 senior Iranian generals, but the regime is retaliating tonight with a barrage of ballistic missile strikes against the Jewish state. Our very own Trey Yingst just had to duck for cover in Tel Aviv on the 5.
Air defense systems are currently active over Tel Aviv with hundreds of thousands of people into bomb shelters at this moment. Unhook. Get off. All right, we got it. We're going to move. Okay. Stay with us. Stay with us. Stay with us. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving.
The IDF says 80 to 90% of Iran's missiles are being intercepted by the Iron Dome and by U.S. missile defense systems in the region. And they have something up their sleeve. Israel says the Beeper operation will seem simple compared to what it has in store next. The Israeli ambassador is promising a number of surprises when the dust settles within the next 24 hours. Netanyahu still isn't ruling out an assassination strike against the Ayatollah.
It's not going to escalate the conflict. It's going to end the conflict. We've had half a century of conflict spread by this regime that terrorizes everyone in the Middle East, has bombed the Aramco oil fields in Saudi Arabia, is spreading terrorism and subversion and sabotage everywhere. That's the forever war is what Iran wants, and they're bringing us to the brink of nuclear war.
Netanyahu says killing the Iranian leader will be the end of the conflict, but it could also be the beginning of the conflict, because the next Ayatollah could be even nastier. The White House is thinking right now is it's the Ayatollah you know versus the Ayatollah you don't know. That's not to say Trump couldn't decide to swoop in and do some gigantic action. Trump already rejected Israel's original plan for regime change, but he wants Khomeini to know that he's the one keeping him alive. Quote, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader's hiding. He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out, kill, at least not for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin." Trump says the Iranians missed the opportunity of a lifetime.
I told them to do the deal. They should have done the deal. Their cities have been blown to pieces. They've lost a lot of people. They should have done the deal. I told them, do the deal.
Trump always wanted a deal, but Netanyahu, after October 7th, had decided he was going to strike Iran anyway, with or without the United States, regardless of whether we were negotiating. Netanyahu even asked Trump for the bunker busters, but Trump said no and was focused on signing a deal, but began to feel the Iranians were stringing us along. And after they missed their deadline and the clock ran out, he let Israel go hard the very next day. And now Trump has a big decision to make. The U.S. and Israel control the airspace over Iran. Their proxies have been gutted. Our sanctions are strangling the country, and Israel's conducting sabotage and espionage activity inside of their borders. The U.S. naval assets have surged into the region, encircling the regime in the Arabian Sea, the Gulf, and in the Mediterranean. Sources say B-52s are stationed in the Indian Ocean within striking distance of Iran. And Trump says this country cannot have a nuclear weapon.
It's very simple. Not to go too deep into it, they just can't have a nuclear weapon.
Or what are you looking for here?
An end. A real end, not a ceasefire. An end.
So something that would be permanent.
Yeah. Or giving up entirely. That's okay too.
Are you close there? Is that possible? Is that possible in the next 24 hours?
Why not? Certainly possible. Complete give up. That's possible.
Trump's orchestrating a massive pressure campaign to ensure the Iranians never get a nuke. Politico says it's the most consequential decision of his presidency. The Trump administration doesn't want to barrel into risky missions or regime changes, but they recognize there's a historic window of opportunity to solve a problem that's vexed U.S. presidents for decades: how to fully eliminate the Iranian nuclear program. Does the president authorize American pilots to fly B-2 bombers over Iran and drop a series of bunker busters on Fordow, the underground Iranian nuclear facility? Or does he let the Israeli air campaign put Khomeini under so much pressure that he crawls back to the negotiating table and signs away his nuke program peacefully? Trump met with his national security team earlier today and is carefully deliberating. The president just finished a call with Netanyahu this afternoon and is keeping all options on the table. He's considering dispatching J.D. Vance and negotiator Steve Witkoff to the region, while also getting assets in place if he decides to strike. Israel can't eliminate the Iranian nuclear threat by themselves. They have their own bunker busters, but none of them are powerful enough to pierce 300 feet deep underground. There's only one bomb for the job, and we have it: the MOP. The massive ordnance penetrator weighs 30,000 pounds. It's so heavy that it can only be lifted by an American B-2 bomber. And once it drops, it explodes horizontally and vertically. We've been working on it for 20 years. Trump tested one during his first term, and it's fully operational. We've used variations of bunker busters in the past, in the Iraq War, to destroy deep Iraqi command centers, and then in the Afghanistan War to target al-Qaeda caves. They look like this. Using bunker busters against Iran's nuke sites doesn't come without a risk. The Iranians have stated that if the United States does take offensive action against them, they'll target U.S. bases and the U.S. Navy in the region. If we decimate their nuke site, we'll take away their only leverage, and they could lash out unpredictably. A dirty bomb, suicide bombers, assassination attempts. Who knows? We'd have to deal with the consequences. The United States targeting Iran's nuclear facilities doesn't necessarily lead to regime change. It could domino into regime change, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee it. The commander-in-chief has campaigned against regime change and expensive quagmires, but in the first term, he wasn't shy about taking decisive action to eliminate threats when opportunities presented themselves, striking Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, and bombing ISIS off the map. No one in the administration is considering putting boots on the ground. That's what we think. But bunker busters against Iranian nuke sites would be a bold and dramatic escalation. J.D. Vance says whatever he decides, Trump will make the right call. Quote, "People are right to be worried about foreign entanglement after the last 25 years of idiotic foreign policy, but I believe the president has earned some trust on this issue. And having seen this up close and personal, I can assure you that he is only interested in using the American military to accomplish American people's goals. Whatever he does, that is his focus."
Now, less than 24 hours after Donald Trump warned everyone to evacuate Tehran, wow, Donald Trump puts out this on social media. The highways out of Iran's capital were absolutely, positively packed with cars.
I just want to say this, like, we pray for peace for sure, like Sis Shelley said, and everybody that actually voted for Trump want peace. Trump himself wants peace. He gave Iran 60 days to make a deal, which is they cannot have enrichment, which is nuclear situation in Iran, because Iran has a history of, we know the history. Okay. So, and people are saying America first. Yes, America first, in my opinion, is actually Iran not having a nuclear weapon. It is what it is. Okay. Everybody knows, every American knows this fact. Every American knows that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. We all know that fact, okay? But nobody wants to say it, okay? It is what it is. But what I wanted to point out here is this guy makes a truth post on his social media, Truth Social, that everybody should leave Tehran immediately. And guess what? Just one truth post sent the entire Tehran to be on the run. This is how powerful the commander-in-chief is. And that office should only be occupied by someone who is compassionate. In my opinion, Trump is, because with everything Iran has done and the history of Iran, this is my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, he still gave them 60 days to make a deal. And he still hasn't done anything yet. He still hasn't dropped a bomb. He still hasn't done anything yet. Okay? But let's keep going.
Millions appear to be listening to Donald Trump and taking the president's words rightly very seriously. Unfortunately, over the past 2 months, the mullahs of Iran, they failed to do the same. As the president put it, quote, Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame, a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, unquote. That is the Trump doctrine, for those of you that don't understand. It is common sense. Big part of the Trump platform, he would say it over and over again. Our platform is that of common sense. The #1 state sponsor of terrorism that has threatened to wipe Israel and the United States off the map repeatedly and fired, either themselves or through their proxies, what are hundreds of thousands of rockets over the years at this small country. This is something the president has emphasized over and over again. He has done it over the years. Look at your screen and watch.
Believe me, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, that I can tell you. Most importantly, the United States and Israel can declare with one voice that Iran must never be allowed to possess a nuclear weapon. Never, ever. Reaffirm that Iran must never be allowed to obtain, under any circumstances, a nuclear weapon. In order to ensure, the other big move, the Iranian regime never obtains nuclear weapons. A regime with this track record must never be allowed to possess a nuclear weapon. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Thank you very much.
Now, take a look at your screen. The president, look at this. He has been saying these exact words going back to 2011, steady, firm, and consistent. And tonight, the American people overwhelmingly agree the country's most accurate pollsters, that would be Trafalgar, Insider Advantage. They nailed the 2016, 2020, 2024 presidential elections. They posed the following question, and it is right to the heart of the issue here. What is your opinion of President Trump's position that Iran must be prevented from developing a nuclear weapon, adding, by any means necessary? Take a look at your screen. A whopping 75% of the American people agree with the president. And according to a Harvard-Harris poll, 85% of voters say Iran should not be allowed to obtain a nuclear weapon. A majority of voters also want the president to take out Iran's nuclear program with a military operation. And another poll, from Insider Advantage, has the president's approval rating above water, 10 points above water, outpacing past two-term American presidents by far. Now, this brings us to a critical question at this hour. Israel has successfully now targeted 2 of the 3 most major Iranian nuclear facilities. The third location, the Fordow enrichment plant that Jennifer Griffin was talking about, is buried deep under a mountain. This is south of Tehran. This is believed to be the most significant and secretive nuclear facility inside of Iran. In order to prevent the mullahs from getting a nuclear weapon, this facility must be destroyed. Tonight, the way I see it, there are 3 options. One, Israel could use a tactical nuclear weapon to wipe out the site. They don't have bunker buster bombs. That would obviously be not only highly controversial, but come with massive risks to the region. It is not a good option. Option number 2, Israel can send in a team of commandos on the ground, also very risky with a much lower chance of success. The third best option involves the United States of America, our military, which is equipped with these 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs capable of penetrating that mountain. Israel does not have this critical weapon in its arsenal, and they do not possess the large bombers that are capable of dropping an ordnance of that size. So now President Trump has a decision to make. Will he deliver the final blow to Iran's nuclear program? Will he rid the world of this clear and present danger and this existential threat? Will he end Iran's threat of nuclear terror once and for all and make the world a safer place for generations to come? This is not an easy decision for anybody. And let me be clear. It is not without its own risks. But ask yourself these questions. Would the world be better off without the world's #1 state sponsor of terror that has fired hundreds of thousands of missiles into Israel, either by themselves or through their proxies? Should they have nuclear weapons? Do the people of Israel and the rest of the region deserve a chance to live in peace without the threat of a nuclear-armed Iran? They would hold the world hostage. How many rockets, ask yourself, launched into our country, a small town, a big city in the United States? How many missiles would it take for you to demand that your country fight back? And again, this isn't just about Israel. All of Israel's neighbors in the Arab world, they want Iran's nuclear program dismantled. Nobody's speaking out on behalf of Iran. This is also about the United States. The Islamic Republic of Iran doesn't just threaten Israel. They have vowed to destroy our country, kill our people. Let's go back to your screen. The threats and acts of violence have been nonstop since the Iranian Revolution. That was in 1979. Jimmy Carter was president. Remember, Iran's extremists under the Ayatollah Khomeini, their regime seized America's embassy in Tehran. They took 66 American hostage, 444 days. Iran was also behind the 1983 Beirut bombing of a Marine Corps barracks. 241 Marines died that day. A suicide bombing at America's embassy in Beirut that killed 17 Americans, also directed by Iran. The mullahs were also behind the attack at the Khobar Towers, killing another 17 American troops. Shia militias, backed by Iran, have also been responsible for countless deadly terror attacks against the U.S. Troops in Iraq. Iran also launched a massive missile attack on U.S. bases in Iraq in 2020, injuring over 100 American servicemen and women. There were also reportedly multiple attempts by Iran to assassinate President Trump. Remember, we've talked a lot about Iranian assassination squads, thanks to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Mayorkas, complicit media, and complicit Democrats that told us the border was closed and secure and lied to us. Anyway, by the supreme leader threatening all-out war against the United States this year. 2 years ago, Iran vowing that the U.S. would suffer heavy losses. Iran's naval commander threatened to sink U.S. ships in the Gulf. In 2022, Iran declared that it can use nuclear missiles to turn New York into hellish ruins. And, of course, the unofficial motto of Iran: death to Israel, death to America. And by the way, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There is a new threat issued almost every day. Do you really want a country like that in possession of a nuclear weapon, or would the world be wise and smart, and would we be applying common sense by taking this threat out while we own the skies over the entire country of Iran? Sadly, the Democratic Party, they're too busy playing politics, being crazy, to even care. In addition to the riots and the anti-Semitism, obsession with gender identity, now Senator Tim Kaine, he's now trying to shield Iran, limit Trump's authority as commander-in-chief with a new resolution that would require congressional approval before any action against Iran. Of course, Tim Kaine didn't push for a similar bill when a mentally inept and cognitively compromised Joe Biden was president. For the crazy Democratic Party, everything's about power and politics. Now, this all started with Barack Obama. How we never got to the bottom of that idiotic Iranian deal, payloads of cash given to Iran, $1.7 billion. That cash payment alone, bankrolling hundreds of ballistic missiles and fomenting terror all throughout the region. Over 1 million rockets you can buy with that amount of money. Joe Biden, well, he let them get even richer because he didn't enforce the sanctions that was bankrupting Iran that Donald Trump had put in place. And now, per usual, it is up to Donald Trump to clean up their mess. The good news, our president has a plan. It is not forever wars. That is part of the Trump doctrine. Or boots on the ground. That is not part of the Trump doctrine. Common sense is, and Iran not having a nuclear weapon also is. Iran will simply never have one. And the threat posed by the Islamic Republic will be over.
We didn't know it, but on that day, politics changed forever. And it may be the most monumental TV moment ever, at least since Evel Knievel jumped over the cast of The View.
Gutfeld. Oh, my God.
But there, Trump was blunt, harsh even. We never heard someone state our problems so clearly. He wasn't like the old politicians. Sure, he'd call Rosie O'Donnell a dog, but he wouldn't eat one or strap one to a car. Like those two guys, in case you don't remember. All right, fine. And when the media saw it, they deemed him a clown. But it turns out they were the ones wearing red noses, giant shoes, and shoveling elephant.
I'm just really happy right now. A billionaire vanity candidate taking the escalator to the White House.
We better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next. I know you don't believe that.
It's like I can't tell if this is politics or if this is just PR from a celebrity.
Do you have any doubt that this is anything more than a carnival show?
Which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones right now, Donald Trump.
Now, I can make fun of those idiots, except I was one of them. I, too, was taken aback by Trump. I wasn't used to such honesty from a politician. And I didn't hear the facts. I only heard the tone. And as it turned out, I was wrong. He was just stating the truth everyone else was too afraid to say. When he said Mexico was allowing criminals into our country, people called him racist. He wasn't. He was just right. But more than right, he saw the future, and it was a three-part tragedy. Part one came the warning. Part two came the invasion. And part three, the separatist revolt. And so Trump came, went, and then returned. But during that intermission, our country and that fake president we had decomposed before our eyes. We saw a systematic destruction of our border. To this day, it's still unclear who was the Jim Henson controlling that Muppet in the White House. But millions of illegals poured in, including mostly military-age men. Where did they go? Well, we saw many overflowing our hotels whose rooms we paid for. They were on the streets, many were in gangs. And there in L.A., there they were waving flags, demanding independence from the country that they invaded. In effect, the Dems destroyed the appeal and necessity of legal immigration because we now had more illegals than legal. Invading was simply easier than waiting your turn. But when Trump returned, he was going to fix the problem that first propelled him to the presidency. And what happened? The border was made as tight as Nancy Pelosi's face. Immediately, cartels were designated as foreign terrorists and illegal criminals were taken off the streets. Nearly 1 million people have already self-deported. I haven't seen that many people run for the exits since Dana ordered a chili dog at Citi Field. And now he's ordering ICE to focus on Democrat-run sanctuary cities like LA, Chicago, and New York. And why not? Sanctuary cities were the magnet for mayhem, a fake empathy that we all had to suffer through, generating misery in every city it appeared. If the border was the unlocked door, the sanctuary city was the wallet left on the dresser. Of course, Dems see that Trump's remedy to the problem that they created. Gavin Newsom called Trump's new directive an excuse to keep breaking the law and consolidate power. It's statements like that that confirm my belief that hair products cause dementia. J.P. Pritzker called it an ill-conceived mission, much like the time he got lodged in the Taco Bell drive-thru. But it's all a lie. They pretend to hate the process when in fact they hate the goal. They embraced the Maryland dad and denied the riots because, for one reason, to subvert the only sensible solution we had, deportation. So they don't merit our attention. They can't scream empathy when they lack none for missing exploited kids or the rape and murder of victims of illegals. It reminds me of the story about a man who did CPR on a crash victim. He saved her life. But instead of gratitude, the victim sued him for breaking her ribs. That's the Dems. They put us on a path to destruction and sue the man who's trying to save us. And now they're expecting us to listen because his methods upset him. Sorry, the adults are back. Here's a coloring book. Go in the other room and shut the up. Let's welcome. Here he is.
Oh my God. Gutfeld. Hoo-wee.
And
you know, Greg, that would have been so much nicer if you stopped after Legendary.
What do you make of these self-deportations? Is that kind of what Trump's initial gift is that he creates the atmosphere to incentivize leaving?
Yeah, but I mean, he's right. If people are here illegally, they should just go and then come back legally. It's not a crazy thing to expect. And the thing that's appealing about him to people is he's unscoldable. There's something about Trump that people like the things that would break politicians back. They say something wrong and people like, that was upsetting. And they're like, oh God, I'm sorry. And he just won't break. There's something about that was really an attractive quality. And I think that Democrats never understood why people liked him, so they underestimated them, and then they underestimated him again. They didn't understand that there wasn't a bunch of dummies who don't know anything who are just voting for a bombastic guy. It was that they hate all of you. All of these people who are currently in these situations and politicians they hate. So that they like him by default. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. I think personally I was jealous because I had been talking about being too politically correct and all of these things. And he kind of did it in a bigger way. And it was like, damn him.
He did it live on the news when there was polls and he was looking for votes and he just said what he wanted to say.
Yeah.
And if you like it, you like it. Like the John McCain thing, he survived that.
Yeah.
That was a big one and people are like, oh, it's going to hurt him. It didn't hurt him.
I thought that would end it. Didn't at all. Chris, did you, when Trump first came down the escalator, did you immediately get it? Or were you like me who was like, wait a second?
I didn't know exactly if it was a PR stunt or not. But, Trump is loved, hated, but never ignored.
Yeah.
So you think about pre-president, he's out there, he's doing, The View 18 times, rubbing elbows with Whoopi and the Clintons and Al Sharpton. And then he becomes president, and then life is death without change. Everybody pivots. And it's because, he's like a magician, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because, a magician, when I came out, they all had tuxedos on. No one looked like this. No one did the things that I did. And he wasn't a politician. So he came out and just took back the curtain and exposed what, Washington and what the government and what bureaucracy really looked like. And I think a lot of people are in fear of their livelihood because it's a deep state.
Yeah, you're saying you're the Donald Trump of magicians.
Well, you said that.
Yes. Is that like build a curtain? That was I do not deserve applause for that, Kat. I do not deserve applause, but I'll take it because I'm a sad, needy person.
You said it, not me.
Yeah. Don't you agree in some ways that this whole problem with the border has made legal immigration worse because we've forgotten all of these people that are trying to get in?
Yeah, well, I think that's really sad. I think there should be an easier path for people to come here legally, people who want to work, people who want to contribute to the economy. I also think that I was someone who didn't get it. I mean, if you would have gone back 10 years and we'd be sitting here today talking about President Trump 10 years later, I would have been like, get the out of here. There's no way.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of those people that you played in that segment, they were also the ones putting him on TV. A lot of the people who later complained about him were putting him on TV. And the more that he spoke on TV, the more they were like, can you believe he said that? And I think what I heard from people who supported him at that time, some of the first people to support him, straight up said, I'm supporting him because everyone's against him.
Mm-hmm.
So they essentially turned this super rich guy into a victim of sorts and the underdog of sorts. And people kind of, I think, thought of the times they were kind of scolded by people for saying something. And it was the height of some of this cancel culture of you say the wrong thing and then you're a bad person. And I think that made him, nobody saw it coming that it was going to make him more popular.
A few people did.
A few people did.
I mean, like Steve Bannon was there from day one, Tyrus. Were you day one or did you take some, it's 10 years ago. Were you here 10 years ago?
Yes, yes. I didn't say much because I didn't get paid then. So, I'm just not going to spit gold for free.
Wait, were you here? Have you been here for 10 years?
Yeah,
no,
yeah, 10 years, Greg. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, or nine years, 10 months, and 4 hours, whatever, however you want to. You want to break it down to the stat people, but yeah, it's been a long time. Actually, when I came on, you used to make Kat stay in the corner and only critique at the end. So yeah, remember that Kat would do the thing who made mistakes?
Are you serious?
Yeah, and you had that genius liberal talking guy on the wall.
The talking wall.
Yeah, R.I.P. And the worst part is you made me carry you through the door on the first show.
That's right.
Yeah. So, but here's the reason why you have to give the Democrats credit, or the extreme left or the propaganda media, for helping President Trump make 1 million people self-deport, because they said he was Hitler. They did this world propaganda to make him worse than one of the actual worst people in the world, feeling-wise. So it was very easy when he says, I'm going to come get you. They made him the boogeyman, and they believe him, so they left. So in a way, they get credit. They created the monster. They just didn't realize the monster wasn't the little guy behind the thing, but it was the wizard. He was an actual monster if you want to play. The reason why he connected so much, and the reason why I early on was like, yeah, he's got a shot, because he didn't change who he was. And that's the most important thing. He was the way he was, and then when he decided to run, he didn't change. And that was refreshing to Americans. That was refreshing that a guy who cussed before he ran for president, all of a sudden he runs, now he's Jesus' best friend. Yeah. No, President Trump told you like it was, whether you wanted to hear it or not. And then when he ran, he turned it up a notch.
Yeah.
So that's why we're like, man, I wish I could do that at my job. Well, I kind of do.
Thank you, Shama. Thank you, Shauna. Shauna, thank you so much. I saw that. Thank you.
But I'm just saying that was what made it contagious, because he was saying, like, everyday people cuss. Everyday people don't always say the right thing. Every one of us has a mistake or something in our past. He didn't run from it. He didn't try to hide it.
Yeah.
And I think that courage and aggressiveness, Americans really got behind.
Yeah. And also he banged porn stars. And that's something I can get behind.
With a stepladder.
Yes.
If you agree.
Yes, if you agree.
Well, technically, he would get
Alex
behind
Savalas.
All right.
These guys are way too funny, yo. Way too funny. Shout out to Gutfeld. All right, here we go.
Here
Ted
with reaction,
Cruz.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, it is amazing. I watched the president. You should have listened. I gave you time. I watched the president warn the people of Tehran, and we'll show more video of it, to get out. And there's like millions of people listening to Donald Trump. They're not getting that message from the leadership of Iran. They're getting it from the president of the United States, showing that he cares about human life.
Well, listen, President Trump throughout this conflict has been fantastic. I spoke to the president on Sunday and just told him, I said, your leadership has been so critical on this. And he made clear Iran is not getting a nuclear weapon, and he is standing with Israel. I believe our position should be we stand unequivocally with the state of Israel. And I'll make a point. Israel is doing an enormous favor to the United States right now. I believe the most acute near-term security threat facing America is the threat of a nuclear Iran, because the Ayatollah is a religious nutcase. He is a theocratic mass murderer. And when he chants death to America and death to Israel, he does so in front of mobs of people. He also refers to Israel as the little Satan and America is the great Satan. There is a reason the Ayatollah is developing ICBMs. ICBMs are intercontinental ballistic missiles. You don't need an ICBM to bomb Israel. They're bombing Israel with ballistic missiles. You need an ICBM to get to America. If Iran gets a nuclear weapon, I think the odds are unacceptably high that we would find out with a mushroom cloud over New York City or Los Angeles or Tel Aviv in Israel. And what Israel has said is we are going to act. Israel's a tiny country. It's the size of the state of New Jersey, and they are taking out Iran's military with surgical precision. They're taking out virtually all of the senior leaders of the military. They're taking out their nuclear scientists. They are leveling nuclear facilities on the ground. And I think President Trump is exactly right to say we stand with Israel. And I'm with the 75% of Americans that agree with the president's strong stance to keep America safe. That's the commander-in-chief's #1 job, to protect American lives and keep America safe. That's what Donald Trump is doing today.
You know, Senator, this has been discussed for so many years. We've discussed it on this program for years. And now we literally allowed the Iranians, Joe Biden allowed them to get rich. It was able to build up their weaponry, foment terror, build up their nuclear program. All of that, I believe, could have been prevented. Donald Trump left Joe Biden and Iran on the verge of bankruptcy. But we are where we are today, and it's a minute till midnight, and they're at 60% enrichment. In less than a month, they can have weapons-grade uranium, according to every report that has been published, and even the IAEA, not exactly a conservative group. So it seems like this is the moment that will forever end their nuclear ambition. To me, that moment, we cannot miss the moment.
I agree, and you rightly identified in your opening monologue, Israel can take out virtually all of this. The one location that they have a technological challenge with is Fordow, and Fordow is built into the base of a mountain. It's deliberately built to be able to withstand air assault, and America has bunker buster bombs that could destroy Fordow, and I think it is very much in America's interest to see that nuclear research lab destroyed. Look, Iran is not researching nuclear technology because the Ayatollah is worried about climate change. He's researching nuclear technology for one reason, to create nuclear warheads to be able to murder as many Israelis as he can and as many Americans as he can. And the president is rightly focused. He is not going to let a theocratic lunatic murder Americans. And I will say there's some in the political debate that are urging the president essentially to be isolationist, not to engage and not to defend America. Donald J. Trump has never been isolationist. He doesn't want to get us into unnecessary wars. We're not going to see boots on the ground in Iran. But if you look at the first term, President Trump, he utterly destroyed ISIS and their caliphate. He took out General Soleimani, the leading state sponsor of terrorism. He took out al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS. Donald Trump has not hesitated to act when he's protecting American lives. That's exactly what's happening in Israel. And I want to say, God bless the people of Israel. Pray for the people of Israel tonight, and pray for our servicemen and women in harm's way.
All right, well said. Amen. We appreciate you being on. Hey, Sean Hannity.
Shout out to Ted Cruz. All right, here we go. More. Yeah. Uh-oh.
And here we go. Israeli jets streaking through the skies over Iran, hammering military targets, including missile launchers and Iranian nuclear facilities.
This as Iran continues firing missiles into central Israel and now warning if the U.S. gets involved, there will be, quote, serious, irreparable consequences.
And Mike Tobin is live in Tel Aviv with the latest for us. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Ainsley. Now, this is a nightly routine, but people here in central Israel were sent running for the bomb shelters in the middle of the night with more Iranian ballistic missile attacks. Two attacks came just after midnight local time. The IDF says some 30 launches of missiles were detected. The missile defense systems did their job. We heard multiple explosions in the sky over Tel Aviv. The IDF says that several missiles did get through, resulting in damage but no injury. Remarkable video from the sky over Jerusalem as a ballistic missile re-enters the atmosphere, creating a fireball in the sky. The IDF says no injuries as a result of that.
The GOAT strikes again. Shout out to Dr. Luke. God bless you. Thank you so much. All right, here we go. The GOAT says Trump will be victorious. And Dr. Luke actually means the United States will be victorious because Trump is the commander-in-chief of the United States. So when the GOAT says Trump will be victorious, he simply means America will be victorious because Trump represents America. It is just what it is. God bless you, the GOAT. Here we go.
Missile either. The IDF confirms one of the drones is down. Iran claims to have shot it down. Israel says no one was hurt, and the wreckage of the drone will not provide an information breach to the Iranians. Iran's supreme leader sent a message over Iranian TV. He refused President Trump's demand for unconditional surrender and threatened irreparable consequences if the U.S. gets directly involved. That was a threat echoed by a top Iranian diplomat.
We are totally ready to give appropriate response. We will start responding to United States.
Israeli fighter jets were busy in the skies over Iran last night. They hit 5 attack helicopters that were on the ground, according to the IDF, as well as hitting production sites and launchers for ballistic missiles. Also hit some key nuclear enrichment sites on the ground in Tehran. The Israeli Air Force now boasts air superiority over Iran, saying that they have badly degraded the air defenses to such an extent they can fly over Iran without much risk of being shot down. Guys, back to you.
Shout out to the GOAT. I'm telling you, man, this is the GOAT. Dr. Luke, God bless you one more time. Dr. Luke says Genesis is a valuable friend to America. I told y'all multiple times, the United States is the greatest country in the world, the greatest nation on the face of the earth. And this is my opinion. It doesn't have to be your opinion, but this is my opinion. America is the greatest country on earth. That's my opinion, okay? And if you were born in the United States and you do not think America is the greatest country on earth, I don't know what you're thinking. Because you have privileges that almost 70% of the world does not have. So be grateful to America. Shout out to the GOAT one more time. Dr. Luke, here we go.
Incredible.
With the Ayatollah's statements, does that make one think that we should worry about our assets in the region, Michael?
Well, you do see some repositioning of the missile launchers from Iran, which is not entirely clear if they are repositioning to aim at U.S. bases, say, in Iraq or some other locations. But clearly they're making those threats, and the U.S. forces are on alert because of those threats.
Mike, where are those bases in the Middle East?
Well, you have bases in Iraq in particular. You have naval assets in the region. You have U.S. forces that have been in Syria. You have somewhere around 40,000 troops that are based in the region here, Ainsley.
And then you got Qatar, too.
Yeah.
Mike, just to be clear, the Supreme Leader hasn't offered any type of recommendation of peace or to get back to the negotiating table to try to convince the president that he doesn't want a nuclear weapon, right?
Well, you have heard some Iranian representatives say that they're interested in a return to the negotiating table, but the Supreme Leader, you get more of this bombastic type statements coming out of him.
Yeah. Can you imagine the first time he leaves the country, it'll be in exile? There is talk that to move to Russia.
He could go to Russia. Yeah. Any word on that?
No word on that.
Okay.
Go get him,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Thanks.
Mike, you called him Michael earlier. What do you prefer, Mike or Michael?
Michael, do you want to weigh in?
I'm more of a Mike.
Okay. His mom is the only one allowed to call him Michael when he's in trouble.
Did not know that.
Thanks, Mike Tobin.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah,
All right,
so formal.
now
Could have
to-
handled this in the break.
It just shocked me when you said it.
It was on my brain, too.
Yeah, we share everything with you, the audience. There's nothing you don't know. We're
I
pretty
know.
open. We're pretty open. All right, now to another alert. The Trump administration is weighing options about how to respond to this growing conflict. And this is expected to come up at the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's Senate hearing in just over an hour. Peter Doocy is live at the White House with all the details for us. Hey, Peter.
Good morning. The Ayatollah is saying that he's not going to surrender, even though President Trump has publicly stated that the Pentagon has him in its crosshairs. The president says, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out, kill, at least not for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention to this matter." President Trump could order American forces to join the Israeli fight against Iran within the next 24 to 48 hours, according to a report by ABC News. President Trump had a call with Bibi Netanyahu after a classified Situation Room meeting about next steps. And the Vice President, J.D. Vance, has a message for people who can't believe President Trump would even think about joining this war. He is saying, "I wanted to address some things directly on the Iran issue. First, POTUS has been amazingly consistent over 10 years that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Second, I've seen a lot of confusion over the issue of civilian nuclear power and uranium enrichment. These are distinct issues. Iran could have had civilian nuclear power without enrichment, but Iran rejected that. And of course, people are right to be worried about foreign entanglement after the last 25 years of idiotic foreign policy. There is a bulletin crossing the wires right now that says, this is citing Russian state news, that Vladimir Putin reiterates his readiness to mediate between Iran and Israel. We know the Iranians have been back-channeling to the U.S. that they do want to talk soon. We don't yet know if President Trump would bless Vladimir Putin as the peacemaker. Back to you.
One of the problems, Peter, is that the Israeli-Russia relationship has really soured when weapons turned up with Hamas and Hezbollah in those systems, and they were not a supporter during this conflict since October 7th.
Absolutely. And the rest of the world does not look at Vladimir Putin as somebody who can bring peace. They look at him as an aggressor who started a war in Ukraine and won't end it, even though President Trump has been trying to get him to end it for the last 150 days or so. And so it's very...
You can hate. You can hate. You can hate, ladies and gentlemen. Liberals. You can hate. But here goes my passport, okay? You can hate. But here goes my American passport. I came to the United States legally, okay? And this is the thing everybody has to understand. Legal immigrant do not want illegal immigrant, okay? So, chew on that. Here goes Genesis passport. Look, you can cry in the comment section, but look, okay. Shout out to the GOAT. Shout out to the GOAT. Shout out to the GOAT. One more time, Dr. Luke. It says, God bless everyone in the chat tonight. We have more in common with each other than we have differences. Absolutely. That's why I always say, doesn't matter if you're liberal or a conservative. We are Americans first. All right. And he says, God forgive our petty hatred and change our hearts. Absolutely. God is love. Shout out to the GOAT one more time. Here we go.
Very, very difficult. It almost seems like that's too easy. And that this is going to be something where third parties, fourth parties, Middle Eastern partners are the ones who are negotiating this to end it, no matter what happens.
My favorite part about this whole thing, Peter, is that the President Putin offered to the president to help negotiate this, to be a part of it. And the president's like, don't you have another war that you should be doing peace yourself?
Yeah. Well, maybe this is how Vladimir Putin finally gets that Nobel Peace Prize.
Right.
Fox News alert moments ago, Iran's supreme leader vowing to never surrender, threatening any U.S. involvement will trigger an all-out war with irreparable consequences, as Israel needs an American bunker buster, at least one, to destroy the terror regime's last untouched or virtually untouched nuclear facility called Fordo. Our next guest knows all about the Mideast war on terror. Decorated Navy fighter pilot Matthew Wiz Buckley joins us now. Matt, great to see you. Your thoughts about what our role should be to take out Fordo?
Well, good morning, Brian. Thank you for having me. This is literally a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I am not a big fan of forever wars. Iraq, Afghanistan, some of our other skirmishes, but this is literally a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. In Iraq and Afghanistan, we didn't have an ally that went in and completely decimated the enemy and softened up the battlefield. Iran is blind right now. They have no integrated air defense system. All of their sites are more or less open, and Israel has absolute air dominance. So if the president chooses, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to potentially change the course of history.
You're a Navy fighter pilot, unlike the Air Force fighter pilot that would fly the B-2s or the B-52 or the C-130. Do you believe that this could be a mission that could be completed and Fordo could be destroyed from what you know the bunker buster and busters can do?
100%, Brian. This is exactly what this weapon was designed for, to penetrate deep into the ground. Not to get too technical, but these bombs have different types of fuses and sensors on them to literally go through different layers, whether it's ground or concrete. You just kind of program that into the weapon. And once it reaches its designed or what you set into that bomb, it's going to explode. So fairly certain the Israelis have done a decent job of softening up that target, opening up maybe a little bit of a hole for this Moab to come in.
How many do you think we'll need?
Don't want to get too much into that. Let's just say these will get the job done. The current chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Raising Cain, he's an old buddy of mine. One of the reasons President Trump really liked General Cain is because during his first term, he employed one of these massive weapons to take out a mountain of bad guys in Afghanistan. And Trump kind of said, well, why haven't we done this up to this point? And I think Raising kind of just shrugged his shoulders and looked at some of the higher ranking folks. So one of the reasons I think General Cain is in place today is because he has the skill set and the wherewithal to potentially employ these weapons if the president decides to do so.
And the president doesn't want a ceasefire. He wants a surrender. So let me ask you something. People watching at home go, well, what is our problem with Iran? Maybe we just don't understand the culture. Do you have a different perspective?
These folks really need to study their history a little bit better. I was a teenager when they killed 241 U.S. Marines. Along the way, they attacked the Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia, I believe, and 19 airmen were killed. And then as much as 608 Marines and soldiers were killed by Iranians during operations in Iraq. I don't know what further justification you would need. They have killed our Marines. They've killed our soldiers for decades, and we've never laid a glove on them.
And Iran he told the Taliban, we'll give you $1,000 for every American soldier you killed. And 17% of all deaths in Iraq of American soldiers were directly and at the hands of Iran, at minimum. So I hear you. They have been a problem. And Israel is doing the Western world a favor, and we could finish the job, and I hope we choose to do it. And thanks so much for your perspective. I appreciate it.
Like, once again, I'll say, most Americans, matter of fact, all Americans want peace. Every single American wants peace, okay? However, Iran needs to sign the deal. All right? Iran needs to sign the deal. But God is in control. God is in control. That's all I can say. And God will provide the exact knowledge for the commander-in-chief, President Trump, to know exactly what to do. And I'll say it again. He still hasn't dropped a bomb on Iran. He still hasn't given the order yet, even though they are shouting death to America. I'm just saying, liberals, this man still hasn't given one order to drop the bomb. What does that tell you? He's still hoping Iran will come back to the table. This is why I voted for Trump, because he already said he does not want war. Okay? He still hasn't given the order. All right, with that being said, Dr. Luke says, shout out to the GOAT one more time, man. Shout out to the GOAT, Dr. Luke. He says, Iran will be covered in prayers tonight. The 100 million beautiful souls need protection. Let's pray for our enemies so we don't become monsters. And only a powerful person can say that, because even if you have the entire nuclear weapons in the world, you don't want to use it, because Trump has said it multiple times. He doesn't want to use it. He doesn't want to use the strength America's military has. He doesn't want to use it. And Dr. Luke right here just encapsulates everything Trump has been saying for years. It says Iran will be covered in prayers tonight. The 100 million beautiful souls need protection. Let's pray for our enemies so we don't become monsters. We don't want to become monsters. We do not want to become monsters. So shout out to the GOAT. Shout out to the GOAT. Shout out to the GOAT one more time, Dr. Luke. Everybody, let's say a prayer for Iran. No matter how hard it may seem, but we still have to pray for our enemies. May the 100 million souls in Iran be protected and covered in peace. In Jesus' name, amen. And please sign the deal, please. Dear Lord, please help them. Let them sign the deal. All right, back to the United States. ICE.
New Border Patrol data shows not a single migrant was released into the United States last month in May. Compare that to the more than 62,000 that were released into the country under Joe Biden in May of 2024. Michael Banks is the chief of the U.S. Border Patrol, and he joins us now. Good morning to you, Michael.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chief. This is great news. How are you feeling about this, and what does it mean for our country?
So it's phenomenal. Anybody that cares about national security, knows that under the last administration, we were breaking record numbers of people that were coming into the country illegally and that were being released into the country. And to go from 62,000, over 62,000, down to zero, we're breaking record numbers in the right direction now. We're securing our border. We will not declare victory, but I will tell you we are fast approaching it. We are closer to operational security of the border than we've ever had. 2 days ago, we broke another record. 141 entries at the southwest border. Those entries are all apprehended, and none of them will be released.
That's incredible. So what is your message to, I'm instantly thinking that we're keeping Border Patrol agents safer and our communities safer. So what is your message to Donald Trump?
The message the President of the United States is thank you. Thank you for the support that you've given the U.S. Border Patrol. We've said all along that the United States Border Patrol knows how to secure the border. We just need leadership. And with the leadership of President Trump and Secretary Noem, we are proving exactly what we've been saying for years. Let us enforce the laws, and we'll get the job done. And I think the American people are seeing that. We're making our community safer. We're making our nation more secure. And we're just getting started. We're not even close to being done.
And when it comes to encounters, in May of this year, last month, about 8,700. In May of last year, it was almost 118,000. That's a 93% drop. And Tom Homan posted this, sir, on X. He said, President Trump's leadership has resulted in the most secure border in this nation's history. In the last 24 hours, the Border Patrol encountered a total of 95 illegal aliens across the entire southern border. That is the lowest number ever recorded. Compare that to the Biden administration, who surpassed more than 10,000 per day. President Trump is the game changer. What is your reaction, Chief?
Well, I think it just goes right back to what the president said. We didn't need new laws. We just need to be allowed to enforce the laws. The previous administration wrote policies that usurped the laws and prevented Border Patrol agents from doing their job. This president came in and said, nope, go out and do your job. And look, we're getting it done. And like you said, we're breaking numbers in the right direction. We're breaking numbers that are making this country more secure. And the Border Patrol is doing what we've always known how to do. We just need to be allowed to do it. And with the leadership of President Trump and Secretary Noem, we're getting the job done every day. We're going to continue breaking records. However, those records are going to be in the record numbers of people that we are not allowing into this country illegally.
And I know that y'all are seizing a lot of counterfeit products on the border, 317 million worth in last month alone. You've also seized hundreds of pounds of drugs, including 718 pounds of fentanyl. What are the folks on the other side of the border saying? Obviously, they're getting the message.
So thousands of pounds. We just had 200 pounds or 200 kilos seized just the other day. And so I want to make a very good point about our narcotic seizures and our counterfeit and seizures. It's not because more is being smuggled across, because the border is more secure. It's because agents are actually out there enforcing the law. Law enforcement officers are doing their job and not being stuck inside processing. And so, look, the cartels are getting frustrated, and they should, right? We have no intention of backing off. It is all gas, no brakes downhill. We're going to continue pushing until we break the backs of the cartels. And they're going to need to push their product to another country because we're closed. You're not coming here illegally, and you're not peddling your drugs into this country.
Wow. Michael Banks, Chief of the U.S.
I mean, don't you feel great just listening to the Border Patrol chief saying America's closed to crazy killing drugs that has affected so many families. So we should be glad this is happening. All right, here we go.
Certainly are. Jillian, here is the state of play right now on the board behind me. This is Iran's ballistic missile estimations. This is essentially what the regime has to fight at the moment. About 3,000 total capacity, of which anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 have the ability to travel the distance from Tehran to Tel Aviv. And that's very significant, as we can show you the map here, okay? Tehran to Israel, Tel Aviv, let's say, is about 1,000 miles, okay? So not the entire ballistic missile arsenal can get there. So the Iranians have a decision to make depending on how many can travel this distance, 1,000 miles from Tehran. In addition now, you have at least 400 that have been fired. Some estimates say about 450 thus far. So the Iranian leadership and the military have these decisions to make as to how long they want to go with this ballistic missile supply. Also, you've got, according to the IDF, 120 missile launchers that have been taken out. That is critical if you cannot have the capacity to deliver the missiles toward Iran.
I gotta say, man. I just gotta say this, man. The GOAT. Shout out to the GOAT, Dr. Luke. For some reason, I said it, was it 4 or 5 days ago? I said I was talking with my 5-year-old daughter, and I was talking to her about Dr. Luke, C. Shelley, Mr. Busky. It was just a, quick conversation. We were having lunch, and she was like, she talks to me about Daddy, your stream and stuff. And yeah, I don't want to get emotional, stuff, but she really gets me emotional because, life can be funny. Life can be funny, but I'm grateful to God. And I just want to say thank you, man. I just want to say thank you to you guys. But shout out to the GOAT, Dr. Luke. God bless you. He says, for your consistency, Genesis, God bless. And God bless you too. The GOAT, God bless you. It means a lot. Okay, you just watching, y'all just being here, Dr. Luke, the GOAT just being here, it means a lot. C. Shelley, Mr. Busky, Jet, Zara's Garden. I see mobile app in the chat. Y'all just tuning in means a lot. But the fact that the GOAT has been super chatting for like 1 hour now, back to back to back to back. It just means God is the greatest. God is the greatest. And I really do appreciate you, the GOAT. And everybody, I appreciate you actually, because I see C. Shelley has been saying thank you. So from my heart, I'm saying thank you. Okay. Shout out to the GOAT. It says, for your consistency. It's funny because I was about to go to sleep and I'm like, my people are waiting. I don't want to go to sleep. So we started streaming and you guys are here. So one more time, shout out to the GOAT. Shout out to everybody for tuning in. Enjoy the show.
And affect the damage on the ground. Talked about Iran yesterday. Borders closed with Azerbaijan. Borders closed down here with Pakistan. The airspace is closed as well. Iran is a massive country. It's about the size of Alaska. It's about 2 times the state of Texas. You could put 75 Israels inside of Iran, a country of 90 million people. Tehran's got about 9-10 million, plus another 8 to 9 million in the metropolitan area of Tehran. It's highly dense, it's populated, and it's very large. A big challenge for the Israelis and perhaps the U.S. as well. One key significant factor we've noticed over the past 6 days. Who is supporting Iran? Well, here are the headlines now from the Jerusalem Post. Iran remains isolated 5 days into the strikes. New York Times, despite close ties with Iran, Russia stands aside as Israel attacks. In addition to that, what's Beijing doing, right? China sides with Tehran but wields little influence in the Iran-Israeli war, which shows you how isolated this regime has become. I'm going to move over here for a second. Jimmy Dancino is the former foreign policy advisor for President Bush. Got a great podcast, too, called Me Back. And Dan, good morning to you.
Good to be with you, Bill.
Welcome to our coverage here. This comes from the Institute for the Study of War, Jack Keane and others. They write this. Iran has used significantly fewer munitions in its response to Israel than originally planned because the IDF destroyed and damaged missile launchers and silos that Iran planned to use to retaliate against Israel. We are on day 6. Can Israel manage this alone?
Israel can manage the defense of Israel alone. Israel can continue to do serious damage to Iran's military assets, its military leadership, and its nuclear program, with the exception of Fordo. That is the big question mark. Fordo, as you know, is this enrichment capability or asset that's deep, hunkered down into bunkers, basically, very hard to access. And it's, I mean, the Israelis say they have some capabilities that could tackle Fordo. They've done Natanz. The question is, can they do Fordo? They say they have capabilities to do Fordo. The Americans, the U.S. definitely has the capacity to do Fordo. I think Israel's capabilities are probably there, but they will be messy and they will take longer. And I think the U.S., if the U.S. participated in some way, would be a much cleaner shot.
So we've heard a lot from the president so far today, and I think it was yesterday when he said unconditional surrender, or perhaps that was Monday. Things are running together. But significant that J.D. Vance said this yesterday. People are right to be worried about foreign entanglement after the last 25 years of idiotic foreign policy. But I believe the president has earned some trust on this issue. He's only interested in using the American military to accomplish American people's goals. Is the administration getting warmer to the possibility of war?
Yes. Well, they've already gotten warm to the possibility of war because there is a war going on that the U.S. supports. The only question is, as one Republican U.S. Senator put it to me the other day, who has been talking to President Trump, he said, to finish this off, Israel has done all the difficult, dirty work. It has cleared the path now for the U.S. to come in the end and finish it off. Israel could probably finish it off, as I said earlier, which is, again, Fordo. But he said Israel's chance of success doing it on its own is much lower. If the U.S. finishes it off, the success rate is 90% plus.
So on that, what is the calculation on behalf of the commander-in-chief? If this does not go as planned, if it goes sideways, not just in Iran, but our military installations throughout the Middle East, or perhaps Americans who are living abroad or even here at home. Keep in mind, we had how many millions of people walk across that border for 4 years?
I think the big question for the president is, if this doesn't wrap up cleanly and soon, you will have this war dragging on. Right? Israel is not going to pull back, and presumably Iran is not going to pull back. What does that look like? What does that look like to Israel? What does it look like to Iran? And what does it look like to the region? A. B. Never forget that Iran has been a threat to the United States and the West for decades. I mean, literally after Al-Qaeda, you can't think of a bigger source of terrorism. You can't think of an entity or a country that has more American blood on its hands than Iran. American military, I saw it firsthand in Iraq, where they were killed by terrorists supported by Iran, directly by the Iranian military. They run rabid all over the world, threatening American interests. So this is the best shot President Trump has since the revolution in 1979 to put the Iranian threat away. He would be the president that makes this thing go away. If he did, the man would deserve the Nobel Peace Prize.
Last question. The Supreme Leader was out 3 hours ago. He rejected surrender. He rejected unconditional surrender, whatever the phrase was at the time. What cards does he have today?
Look, I don't think he has many. On my podcast this morning, I interviewed an expert who's lived in Iran, who's Kareem Sajapour, who's an expert on Iran. He says he can't think of many cards, any cards Iran has right now. And the problem is with the Supreme Leader is he's old, he's dug in, he's deeply ideological, and he's really uncompromising. The Iran deal he did in 2015 with Obama, which was an enormously generous deal to Iran, was considered by him a massive capitulation. This is not a man who wants to make real concessions. So unfortunately, Iran does not have many cards right now. And for the Iranian people, what's tragic is they have a leader who's in his 80s and does not seem to be prepared to change his ways.
Day 6 and we push on. Dan, it's great to get your
great to be with you, Bill.
Analysis today.
Thank you.
Dan Senor.
Thank you for tuning in to the live show. God bless y'all. And one more time, shout out to the GOAT, Dr. Luke. God bless you for the super chat. You are truly appreciated. Never forget that. Never forget that. The GOAT, Dr. Luke. And shout out to the hardworking C. Shelley. It's not an easy job being a moderator in this swamp of wolves. It's not an easy job being a moderator. And Jet, that's why I had to let you get some peace, because dear Lord, it's not easy. And C. Shelley, God is your strength, okay? All right, here we go.
Meanwhile, back here at home, Ainsley?
Yeah, so Trinidad and Tobago, we've talked about them. They really were on the map because of all the immigration problems through Joe Biden. And we've talked a lot over the last year about that apartment complex in Aurora. And it looks like, according to police records, they are back. This is some video of 9 suspected Trinidad and Tobago gang members that just unleashed chaos in Colorado. It's chilling doorbell video because they were knocking on neighbors' doors, apartment complex doors again, and no telling what they would have done if people had opened their doors. The police chief there, he said they weren't bringing coffee cakes. They weren't bringing welcoming trays. They brought guns. Listen.
Based upon everything that I stated here, based upon the involvement, the actions, the behaviors, the demeanor, there is without question gang involvement in this. And again, we are going to hold those individuals accountable.
So will we see protests here? Like, are y'all gonna block ICE and the federal agents that want to arrest these bad guys? Are y'all gonna link arms with them when they try to take them into custody? They are on the wrong side of this. And Brian, it just reminds me of that major moment when J.D. Vance is on ABC and he was told it was just a few apartment complexes.
President Trump was actually in Aurora, Colorado, talking to people on the ground. And what we're hearing, of course, Martha, is that people are terrified by what has happened with some of these Venezuelan gangs.
Senator Vance, I'm going to stop you because I know exactly what happened.
Martha.
I'm going to stop you. The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border. Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America America are being taken over by violent gangs.
Okay, let's just end that with they did not invade or take over the city, as Donald Trump said. I want to move on to
just a few apartment complexes, no big deal.
A few apartment complexes that the mayor did not seem was invading the entire city.
I want to move on. She says. Of course she does.
The T-shirt was, can you listen? Do you listen to yourself? Right. You listen to yourself. This is so unbelievable. Number one, if the mayor doesn't have a problem with that, he should resign immediately. Right. And the governor to deny and think that Donald Trump's the problem, you have no business in that position, Governor Polis. And now that they're back, TDA, this is what the president's already made clear when he said in L.A., you can't control those riots. I'm sending in, and I'm, by the way, he's posting it. Now he says, you have a problem in Chicago? I'm going to send there. Now, Mr. President, if he's watching right now, you still got the same problem, but now you're president.
Yeah, and imagine,
so if this mayor and these police people won't take it, that you send the National Guard in right there.
Imagine living in this building. Police, since just last August, have responded to 44 calls for service at that complex related to 12 separate incidents, including threats that were made to the tenants, shots being fired, and squatting.
So y'all remember the last time Tom Homan went there? He went there with 200 federal agents, and the activists on the ground tipped the gangsters off, and they evaded arrest. So they got to go back in, and no one should know they're going in.
The Aurora City Council member said this, gosh, once again, if someone would have just listened to me, it's not an isolated incident, not just poor-friendly migrants that I was picking on, certainly not a feature of my imagination. No, sir. You did the right thing, and now we have the right president to handle it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
Oh, my goodness. Y'all remember when we used to stream the campaign and the legacy media said, in Colorado, it's just a handful of criminals. What are you talking about? Well, now we have a commander-in-chief who actually knows what he's doing. All right, here we go. Peter Doocy.
Just ask if he's moving closer to using a bunker-busting bomb to eliminate Iran's nuclear program. Here he is.
You've been answered questions about whether you are moving closer or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities. Where's your mindset on that?
I can't say that, right? I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble. And they want to negotiate. Two very simple words, a very simple, unconditional surrender. That means I've had it. Okay, I've had it, I give up, no more.
I've had it.
I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. The president knows the moment we are in as a nation, as an ally of Israel, who is systematically doing the world a favor by battering Iranian military and nuclear sites. And President Trump is putting America first with his actions, as he always does. In fact, today on full display is patriotism at the White House. We are at the ready for any movement there on a very special day for the president of who has been manning that construction team this morning that's coming up with that. The president is reportedly seriously considering joining Israel's bombardment of Iranian nuclear facilities. You just heard him say no one knows exactly what he'll do, but it is fully his decision. The stakes are high for the United States. Our military could take out a key Iranian nuclear site buried deep into a mountain. And that decision carries some political risk as well. At the same time, Iran's supreme leader is showing no signs of backing down.
The Iranian nation will not surrender to anyone in the face of imposition. The Zionist enemy has made a big mistake, committed a big crime, and must be punished, and is being punished. The damage America will suffer if it makes a military intervention in this field will undoubtedly be irreparable.
And in the capital city, Tehran, the streets are quiet and empty after the president and Israel warned residents to evacuate. They listened. One Associated Press journalist said they only saw a handful of pedestrians in the city. Here's General Jack Keane.
If we walk away and leave those sites intact, then the Ayatollah will be able to achieve what he's always wanted here. Assist the Israelis in their air campaign using penetration bombing to eliminate the end of that nuclear end state. And that will be a major strategic achievement.
However, one Trump administration official is telling Politico that no one the West Wing is talking about, or in the West Wing, is talking about regime change. Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy with more now. Peter, we have seen the president this morning on the lawn as they get ready to erect not one but two flags outside the White House.
Yes, and that'll be the excitement for the morning. But the president revealed that the next week concerning Iran could be very big, as he told us that some Iranian leaders could actually come here to the White House.
Have the Iranians reached out to you?
Yes.
And what did they say?
I said it's very late. You know? I said it's very late to be talking. They even suggested they come to the White House. It's a big difference. But they've suggested that they come to the White House. That's, you know, courageous.
But the president is in no rush to get the Iranians here because he told Bibi Netanyahu to keep going with the strikes inside Iran. President Trump will not reveal his current thinking about striking nuclear targets, and his defense secretary was just asked about possible strike packages.
My question for you is whether you have been asked actively to provide options for the president regarding a strike in the Middle East.
If I had or I had not, I wouldn't disclose that in this forum, Senator. My job, our job, Chairman and I, at all times, is to make sure the president has options and is informed of what those options might be and what the ramifications of those options.
And the president was asked what his message is for Iran's supreme leader, who is refusing the unconditional surrender the president wants. The president said his message to the Ayatollah: good luck. Harris?
All right, Peter Doocy, thank you. A new op-ed titled "Why U.S. Must Destroy Iran's Fordow Nuclear Facility Now." And the argument is Fordow is not just another enrichment site. It is a fortified monument to Iran's deception and determination. The U.S. alone has the tools and the reach to destroy it. This mission, if undertaken, must be precise, overwhelming, and independently verified. History will judge our resolve. Let it be said that when the mountain hid the bomb, America shattered the mountain and proved it. Brett Velikovich, Fox News contributor, former Army Special Operations soldier, and former military intelligence. All right, let's start with Fordow. Not just the importance of it, but what's there, the structurally that only we can take out.
Well, structurally, Harris, it's one of the most difficult sites to penetrate. And so that's why likely the Israelis are asking for U.S. help. And I think, frankly, we need to do what we can to bomb the Iranians back to the negotiation table. Iran's hardliners need to be bombed back to the nuclear negotiation table. And there's a limited time for Israel to do this quickly, because doing nothing carries its own risk. If we don't use this opportunity to help them destroy that last remaining nuclear facility now while they're on the run, we may find them able to reconstitute their program, their nuclear ambitions quickly after the smoke clears. And I hope the president understands that. And this whole debate about if it drags us into this larger war or not, listen, Iran already sees us as complicit. No matter what we do or don't do now, they will attempt to target U.S. interests in the future, whether U.S. assets strike them now or not. That's the bottom line. They've been at war with us for decades, even when we have not been at war with them. I mean, myself and other U.S. soldiers were deployed in Iraq to hunt ISIS and al-Qaeda, not Iran, but yet we found ourselves on the receiving end of weekly Iranian attacks. I was nearly killed by Iranian bombs. I've had close friends killed by Iranians. Many U.S. veterans are missing limbs because of Iranian bombs. And many of our bases now for years continued to be attacked. And we're the beacon of freedom for the rest of the world, Harris. This is one of those moments, I think, in history where we need to stand up for what's right, be on the right side of history, and it's time to help free the Iranian people, the majority of which has been oppressed for too long. And this is about wanting regime change, by the way. It's not just about nuclear weapons. I know people are saying they're not looking for regime change, but we're not going to be able to change that regime. That's the bottom line. Only the Iranian people can change that regime. But what we can do is give them the opportunity through military action to rise up and do something about it.
Just real quickly, I want to know about assessing this particular enemy. And you just gave us a lot of information and close calls and deaths, of course, of some of our military heroes along the way at the hands of Iran. What is it that happens globally, though, as the world looks at us and they're reaching out, the president's getting really tough? I mean, is there a stall that has to happen now in order to get this done? Or do you think Iran's just not even serious when it says it wants to talk to President Trump?
The Iranians are generally all talk. They are masters at manipulating speech. You're not going to out-talk or outspeak an Iranian. It's in their culture. They're masters at manipulating their words. But what we can do is more than talk. We can actually do action and execution, because talk in that region, it doesn't work. It's only a region that understands strength. And I don't think there needs to be this long-term Israeli military campaign. The Israelis just decapitated nearly Iran's entire military chain of command. I don't think we have to worry about that, this long protracted campaign, because I'm not even sure what that would even accomplish at this point, because there's barely anyone left at their leadership level to kill. Yeah. I mean, yesterday, Iran's new chief of staff of the military was killed. He held the position for only 4 days. Israeli spies have infiltrated nearly every part of that regime. Mossad spies are inside Iran, targeting leadership in their homes, and they've got the mullahs on the run. So we need to do whatever we can to help them reestablish deterrence, help them strike facilities. If they can't get to certain facilities, let's help them do that, and let's do it at a time when there's just not much time to finish this, and we should help them with whatever we can.
Yeah. So Brett, a lot of concern about what happens. You say regime change in the end. Well, who does fill in? Reza Pahlavi, the exiled crown prince of Iran, had this to say about the Iranian regime. Watch.
Do you believe that this Iranian regime can be toppled?
Absolutely. It's just a matter of time. I believe that for 44 years. It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when. But now we have a tremendous opportunity.
Your thoughts, your reaction?
The problem and the mischief that we're seeing in Iran and around the world is not coming from the majority moderate Iranians or the Iranian people. The truth is, Iran and its people have the potential of being one of the biggest strategic allies to us in the region. The majority of the people want peace. The majority of people want a relationship with the West. The majority want to connect with the rest of the world. But they've been oppressed for decades, and it's time for them to take over. We are not going to create regime change and military action. It has to be the Iranian people, and hopefully we're giving them the time and space to do that.
One more thing, and it has to do with what we don't know about Iran right now. So they've got, potentially their most precious nuclear program protected inside that mountain, Fordow, so that if everything else gets hit, they're hoping, well, they can still go forward with a nuclear program. But what do they have that potentially we don't know about? I mean, they've been on the ground with Mossad. Israel has. We think they've been flipping assets to a great degree. We know that they have. But what gives them any sort of ground right now to say the words to President Trump that, the worst is yet to come, basically? I'm paraphrasing them.
I think it's all talk, and I think it's Persian pride in the end. I think that the Israelis have been doing an amazing job at being able to make Iran essentially defenseless at this point. You heard the president talk about us owning their airspace, and that's the reality on the ground. And the Iranian regime and the Ayatollah, and they need to understand that reality, and they need to come back to the nuclear negotiation table, or it's only going to get worse for them.
Brett Velikovich, you have...
Once again, hopefully peace would reign. But this is what is going on currently right now. Here we go.
Any moment here, we're going to Trey Yangst, our Fox News correspondent who's on the ground in Tel Aviv. Looks like right now. Trey Yangst, live from Tel Aviv with more. Trey.
Yeah, absolutely. We just got new alerts from Israel's Home Front Command that Iran has launched a new ballistic missile attack against central Israel. We could see nearly the entirety of the beach area in Tel Aviv evacuating quickly, hundreds of people running for shelters. We anticipate at any moment there will be air raid sirens sounding across this city as Iran launches yet another attack. Remember, last night they launched around 30 ballistic missiles toward this city and others, but many of them were intercepted by advanced air defense systems. The concern here is that they will continue these small barrages in an effort to drag out this conflict. But we do know, according to the IDF, they've been able to take out many of the launching positions, and this has reduced the Iranian ability to target Israel, but it's certainly not destroyed the threat. And that is the concern here for the population. While the Home Front Command has issued new directives to civilians saying that people can go back to work, they have still kept schools closed across this country because there's an understanding that this could drag out for a number of days as the Iranians continue to launch these barrages. They are certainly smaller. The IDF telling us today that in total, more than 400 ballistic missiles have been fired into Israel since Friday morning when the Israelis launched this operation to go after Iran's nuclear facilities and top IRGC officials. And a source that I spoke with earlier on the phone today said they will continue to, in their words, hunt down the military leadership of Iran that is responsible for launching these missile barrages into this country. But again, the latest information that we have right now, any moment we expect sirens to sound across the central part of Israel amid incoming Iranian ballistic missiles. Guys?
Trey, as we've been watching you there on the ground in real time suffer under these barrages, my question is, you've mentioned that they've gotten smaller. Talk to us about the durations and talk to us about the element of viscerality as you've been experiencing them. Do they feel smaller or does it feel equally terrifying each time? Trey.
Each time we can see Israel's advanced air defense systems working to shoot down the incoming fire, but oftentimes the missiles will slip past the air defense systems that are both belonging to Israel and the United States. They're deployed at different areas to try and protect major population centers like Tel Aviv. And when they try to shoot them down, oftentimes the Iranians will use drones at the same time so that the attacks are coming from different areas in an effort to overwhelm the missile defense systems. And when they do that and they actually slip past and slam into these population centers, it can be incredibly dangerous for the population. We have been at the site in the aftermath of these strikes, one in the heart of Tel Aviv, just 48 hours ago, and we arrived on the scene less than an hour after the blast as they were pulling people out of the rubble and debris. I spoke with a woman that I know in Tel Aviv, and she described her experience being trapped inside of a bomb shelter when the front part of her building collapsed. And rescue workers ultimately got to these people who were safe because they were in a bomb shelter. But others that we spoke to on the scene after that explosion in the middle of the night, they were wounded, and some of them still in shock, their ears ringing. At another site that we went to just south of here, there were rescue workers digging through the debris and the rubble. And the scene, I think, painted a representative picture of what this has been like for the population. At one location, an apartment building was hit with an Iranian ballistic missile. And when we arrived, we saw a man who was wounded, but he was wearing a hospital gown. And he was waiting for his father. Right now, we're getting the incoming fire as we speak. You can hear the air raid sirens that are sounding across central Israel. My cameraman's going to pan out here slightly so that you can see any of the incoming missile fire and attempts to intercept these missiles. Just stay with us here, and we will update you on the situation here in Tel Aviv. But again, the Iranians are currently launching a ballistic missile barrage at Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. There are currently millions of people in bomb shelters right now trying to get out of the line of fire. Guys?
Trey, stay safe first and foremost. We're going to just take a moment right now to listen to those sirens.
So, guys, right now what you're hearing are sirens sounding across Tel Aviv. These are the last line of alerts that the Israeli people will get amid this incoming fire. So far, we have not seen any of the air defense systems active around this city. We just have to give it a moment. Oftentimes, they'll intercept the fire as it's coming toward Tel Aviv. Other times, and right now overhead, you can see some of these interceptions taking place. My cameraman's going to pan up here, and you're going to see those white streaks in the sky. That is a successful interception. It's a little bit difficult to see given the fire and the sunlight at this moment, but we're just going to come off the sticks here, and we're going to walk. Just give us one moment. Good to wait.
And Trey, as we're watching
every
here,
time these events happen, every time these happen, we have our security, and we're trying to get a sense of just how heavy the fire is. We can report that there was one interception over Tel Aviv. That was likely Israel's Arrow 2 or 3 advanced missile defense system shooting it down. And the way that we can tell that and there you hear the explosion right there, that is from a successful interception. At this point, because the Iranians don't have the wide array that they had earlier in the conflict, it's a little bit easier for the Israelis to shoot down this incoming fire, but still it's something that the population has to watch out for.
We understand by earlier reporting that 40% of the missiles, including the surface-to-surface missiles of Iran, were wiped out. Trey, do we have updated numbers on that?
Yeah, the latest information that we have from the IDF is that 40% of the launching positions have been taken out by the Israelis in these strikes. Just yesterday, they targeted a missile array near to the Isfahan nuclear facility. And the reasons the Iranians had missiles here is because this was a largely protected area. At least the Iranians thought it was protected. But I spoke yesterday with an Israeli fighter jet pilot, and he said, look, we now have control over much of the skies of Iran, including the Iranian capital of Tehran. And this gives Israel the ability to put drones in the air and also use fighter jets so they can see when these mobile launching units come out and they can target them in real time. And this has greatly reduced the amount of fire that has targeted Israeli cities. And like I said, they still have to follow the alerts that come in because this is not a perfect air defense system. And Iran is clearly not only at a reduced capability to launch these attacks, but they're also trying to preserve what missiles they have left. Israeli sources tell Fox News that at the beginning of this conflict that started almost 6 days ago, Iran had around 2,000 missiles. They've fired 400 of them at Israel, and the Israelis have destroyed a number of other missiles belonging to the regime. Guys?
Trey, final question is about compliance mixed with that visibility during the daylight. So as you see from your deck, is there 100% compliance by the Israelis when they hear the sirens? Or are some people indeed out of their shelters? And does the daylight have an impact? Because certainly as viewers, as we watch the screen with you in real time, it is difficult to see those intercepted missiles in contrast with at nighttime. So talk to us about the experience there during the day.
Exactly. I'm going to have my cameraman very quickly pan to the beach because you're going to see an area that's normally bustling with people. And there's one or two people out still right now, but this entire area has cleared out. Just before we got on air here and earlier in the show when we were speaking, we saw hundreds of people out here and they were sitting by the beach. They were waiting for the sunset to start. What we've seen normally, because these attacks mostly come at night, Israel's trying to have some sense of normalcy during the day. And so there are far more people out during the day. At night, Tel Aviv and other major population centers look like a ghost town. People are staying in their homes. They are ensuring that they can sleep in shelters when the fire is heavy. And they're waiting because they understand that Iran is going to continue these ballistic missile attacks until the war is over. Guys.
Trey Yingst, live from Tel Aviv, Israel. Stay safe and thank you. Joey Jones, your quick thoughts.
Yeah, if I had a chance to ask him, I guess I would have tried to bring to light the fact that in any war posture, the strategy matters. And if you're Iran and you do believe you can carry this war and even win it, your first barrage of missiles don't go to population centers. They go to military bases. Yep. Where Israel's aircraft are, they probably have some intelligence on some of where the Iron Dome is located and things of that nature. In the early stages, it seemed like they may be trying to overwhelm certain areas where they felt like the Iron Dome wasn't quite as secure, and they got some hits in. But if this is what they're doing now, they're attacking population centers basically to get a national or an international attention, then that shows me that maybe they don't have the capabilities that even we feared they do.
Yeah, and they're also trying to break the emotional resolve of the people on the ground. And that citizenry, put them in such a position that they would beg for just stop the war. But if Gaza proved anything, and the taking of hostages, some of whom have still not been released, so those families can have closure, if that was any information for us, it's that the Israeli people are resilient as heck.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone.
One more time, we pray for peace. But just like the GOAT said, and I pinned it, he said, shout out to Dr. Luke, the GOAT, he said, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Thanks.
Fox News alert, the Ayatollah's gone into hiding. He's believed to be holed up inside an underground bunker northeast of the capital. This is a different kind of Iranian hostage crisis. Khomeini can hide, but he can't run. For the past 24 hours, Israel's been attacking the area around his underground lair. But Khamenei, still talking tough, says Iran will not surrender to anyone, and is warning that if America joins the fight and strikes, it'll result in irreparable damage to the United States. Is he bluffing? We don't know. Iranian proxies, which have been severely degraded, are threatening to commit acts of terror against American troops and American ships in the region. And American businesses are now bracing for cyber attacks. Trump says, good luck with that. We won't be bullied.
I was the hunted, and now I'm the hunter. It's a big difference. That means I've had it. Okay, I've had it. I give up. No more. Then we go blow up all the all the nuclear stuff that's all over the place there. No, they had bad intentions. You know, for 40 years they've been saying death to America, death to Israel, death to anybody else that they didn't like. They were bullies. They were schoolyard bullies. And now they're not bullies anymore.
Trump's been meeting in the Situation Room with his national security team. Head of Central Command, Army General Eric Kurilla, they call him the Gorilla, has been instrumental in the war planning. The Pentagon's sending in their new state-of-the-art supercarrier, the USS Gerald Ford, and amassing a tremendous amount of assets in the area. Today, Trump had lunch with Pakistan's army chief. Pakistan borders Iran. Seems like something's about to happen. Trump's not showing his cards yet.
Whether you are moving closer or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities. Where's your mindset on that?
I can't say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question. Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do.
And this is just breaking. The Wall Street Journal is reporting Trump privately approved attack plans against Iran. Now, we don't know what these plans entail, but we're told they include U.S. airstrikes. Unsure if that includes bunker busters. Remember, the latest version of the bunker buster has never been used on the battlefield. It's only been tested. Axios reports that Trump has been quizzing his generals. Are they sure if he uses them, they'll be 100% effective? The generals say yes, but Trump's not completely convinced. Caroline Leavitt says all options remain on the table. Trump's been waiting on giving the final order, seeing if the Iranians give up and surrender their nuke program peacefully. Sources in D.C. say Trump's out of patience and Iran's up against the clock.
I believe that unless Iran surrenders in the next 48 hours, the United States, in conjunction with Israel, will engage in military action.
Trump says the Iranians want to fly all the way to the White House to negotiate an end to this. But he says it's too late. He doesn't appear to be open to long, drawn-out negotiations where he gets strung along like last time.
We're not looking for a ceasefire. We're looking for a total, complete victory. Again, you know what the victory is. No nuclear weapon.
Trump's made a decision. Iran's nuclear program is gone. The person who ultimately decides that is the Ayatollah. He can either let us do it peacefully or we'll do it violently. But either way, the outcome of this war is this. The Iranians will never be able to acquire a nuclear weapon, ever. But time's running out for both sides. Israel's reportedly running low on defensive interceptors, and Iran's reportedly running low on missiles. Iran's also running out of allies. They don't have any friends left in the region. And China, their biggest customer, quiet. And Putin, he has his own problems.
And I spoke to him yesterday, and I said, he actually offered to help mediate. I said, do me a favor. Mediate your own. Let's mediate Russia first, okay? I said, Vladimir, let's mediate Russia first. You can worry about this later.
The Persians are pinned up against the wall. They've been completely humiliated by a tiny Jewish nation, a fraction of the size of Iran. And now the Daily Wire is reporting that the Mossad set up a fake hotline in Iran and ordered top Iranian military officials into an emergency meeting. And the generals were lured into a small bunker in Tehran before Israel wiped them out with a precision airstrike. And inside of the country, you're starting to see unrest. Sanctions have crippled their economy so badly that workers are rioting over delayed payments. Manufacturers are striking over high inflation. Schools, cement factories, and pharmaceutical plants are shutting down. The Iranian currency is getting shredded. And Israel's hitting Iranian energy infrastructure, which is going to create price shocks and shortages. So with the streets teetering and its military commanders assassinated, a nuke might be the Ayatollah's only hope. No one really knows how fast they could spin up a device and strap it into a warhead, but Trump says they're only a few weeks away. Back in March, Tulsi Gabbard said the Iranians were enriching uranium at record levels.
In the past year, we've seen an erosion of a decades-long taboo in Iran on discussing nuclear weapons in public, likely emboldening nuclear weapons advocates within Iran's decision-making apparatus. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons.
So will the United States end Iran's nuclear program with a 30,000-pound bunker buster? Or can Israel end it themselves? Israel admits they have options. They could knock out the power plants that run the underground nuke facility. And since they control the air, Israeli commandos could be inserted and fight their way in and then detonate the site with dynamite. If America does it, there would be consequences, nuclear contamination, and internationally there could be some fallout, although I'm sure Trump could handle it. Either way, the Iranians would retaliate and the United States would have to go back onto a war footing in the Middle East. The whole world's watching. It's the biggest moment of the Trump presidency. China and Russia surveying the scene, and so are our trade partners. We're at this moment in history because of Obama and Biden. They signed a toothless nuke deal that let the Iranians keep enriching and let them keep their ballistic missiles, and paid them billions of dollars, which they used to finance their war machine and proxies. Proxies which have been killing Americans for decades. Marines in Beirut, soldiers in Iraq, and taking Americans hostage in Gaza and inside of Iran. American deterrence, backed by the threat of violence, is what maintains order in the world. And sometimes there comes a time when the commander-in-chief has to use force to nourish the deterrence and keep the American people safe.
Dear Lord, please bring peace to the world. Shout out to the GOAT one more time. Dr. Luke, God bless you. You have been a blessing ever since you've joined this channel. I just want you to know that and never forget that God is going to replenish you 1,000-fold. God bless you, Dr. Luke. Dr. Luke, the GOAT says, Genesis, we came so close to not having a strong commander-in-chief. Absolutely. And to know or remember the fact that CNN, MSNBC, ABC, and the rest of them said Kamala was on the highway, on a fast track to becoming the next president of the United States. But dear Lord saved us. He saved us, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all remember, don't, when Joe Biden said, don't. And then Kamala Harris said, don't. Guess what Russia did? They did. All right, here we go.
All right. I just want to make everyone aware, because we are watching this, but we are also watching, obviously, the other huge story today, which is what happens next from the White House with regard to Iran. So we're going to we'll keep an eye on this situation in Dedham. But I want to go back to the Iran situation, because President Trump has just made news in the Oval Office. He has made comments, and we are awaiting that sound. We're going to play it for you as soon as it turns around. And I want to bring in retired four-star General Jack Keane, Fox News senior strategic analyst, former vice chief of staff of the Army, and chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. So, General, as I mentioned, as soon as we get these comments from the president, we will turn those around. But your thoughts on where we stand right now as we wait for President Trump to make this decision about a potential strike on Fordo in Iran, the nuclear facility?
Yeah, I mean, the decision really surrounds the fact that if Fordow stands and it's not destroyed by the Israelis or its capacity much taken down, then the simple fact is Iran still has the capability to build a nuclear weapon. So that is really the issue here. And I, for the audience to understand, Iran built this very huge, complex nuclear enterprise with redundancy and resiliency at 12 different sites. So no one site by itself would eliminate the program. And the program overall is fundamentally designed from the outset to survive an attack on the program. What the Israelis are doing right now, they built into the program that kind of ability to absorb the attack, to survive that attack, to recover and to rebuild. And it's why the Ayatollah, Martha, in the negotiations with the Trump administration, why his negotiating team would never come to the table and say we will voluntarily dismantle. Yeah. Why is that? Because then he gives up the program with verification. He always believed that he can recover and rebuild despite the Israeli attack. And then there's this one site that he has. He knows that the Israelis likely cannot take it down, and he hopes that this will survive. That's kind of where we are. And the United States is pursuing it for the obvious reason that the president is committed to it, but also it sends a strong signal to our allies that this is our closest ally in the region. They need help. We're going to help them.
Yeah.
And what does it send a message to our adversaries? Much the same.
Absolutely.
It helps to build deterrence with them.
Ask you about, and I want to ask you about the message to China and Russia, because I think it's so important in this story at this point. But first of all, just going back, I mean, give us your sense of confidence that this bunker buster bomb would be successful in disabling Fordo.
Yeah, this is a challenging target, and certainly the people involved in this know this in spades. We've been looking at Fordo, for years. The bunker buster, as you're describing it, was fundamentally designed to go deep, but in a building-like structure with cement that's being reinforced. We're going deep into a mountain structure, and it has considerable amount of rock in it. And because it's rock and not a cement structure, I'm not an engineer, but engineers have advised me on it. What happens is it dissipates some of the blast effect because it's rock, and it's not solid in the way that a cement structure would, and would focus the blast much more and be considerably more destructive. So it's not without its challenges in dealing with this, and that doesn't mean there couldn't be multiple bombs put on this target to bring it to that level of construction. If you really wanted a guarantee to destroy it, I mean, you could conduct a raid on it and then physically, secure the site and dismantle and blow the thing up. I mean, the Israelis certainly may have a plan to do just that if the United States is not going to help them. Obviously, there's considerably more risk with troops on the ground, insert them, be able to get them out. How much time does it take to do the damage? Lot more risk involved in an operation associated with that. The Israelis also may have already, and if they haven't, and when it comes to Fordo, they can't go deep and blow it up, but they should be able to take out the power grid that supports it and the ventilation system that supports it. They did damage like that to Natanz back in 2020 as one of their covert operations. They don't talk about it, but it's been out in the public since. So there are options that the Israelis have, but none of those options are as good as the option that we have.
Yeah.
And certainly, I think that's the most favored option.
Absolutely. Thank you for that assessment. I don't know if we have the soundbite of President Trump control room talking about Putin. But let me know if we have this. But I want to ask the general, when you look at the posture right now of Russia and China as they watch this. All right, we now have the sound from President Trump. Stand by, General, if you would. Thank you very much. Let's listen in.
So do you have any questions, please?
Do you know the latest on the evacuations out of Israel, Mr. President? Have
No.
you been updated on that?
No, we're having a meeting in an hour. We have a meeting downstairs in 1 hour. Yeah.
Mr. President, on Iran, if regime change does happen there, if the regime falls, do you have a plan for what you think would happen?
I have a plan for everything, but we'll see what happens. Got a ways to go. They should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end, they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet, and they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House. So we'll see. I may do that, but it's a shame it could have been done the easy way.
Do you think the regime there could fall?
Sure, anything could happen, right? Of that, sure.
All right, we hear President Trump saying they're going to meet again downstairs in an hour. I assume that means likely in the Situation Room as they continue this. He was asked about regime change, which obviously is a huge issue here. It's not something that, there are other things that have to happen, obviously, before that, General. And what about this suggestion that the Iranians keep shooting down, but President Trump keeps confirming that they have reached out and said that they do want to meet?
Well, of course the Iranians want to meet. I mean, they want to do anything they can to put off what the whole world is looking at, Martha. And let's face facts. The Iranians will come to that meeting, I am absolutely convinced, with the same mindset I just described. And that is, they believe they have the capacity to absorb an attack, survive it, recover, and rebuild. And they are not going to voluntarily dismantle the program, which would mean the end of it, unless they have a secret site that we're not aware of that has enriched uranium centrifuges and they can still build the bomb. That is the one unknown, but we don't have any evidence of that as of now. So I don't think the administration will fall for the line that let's stop everything and go to negotiations, given what a dismal failure these negotiations have been for weeks as the Iranians maintain the hard line. We're not going to voluntarily dismantle. Not only that, we want to continue to have enrichment capability. And I don't see them changing that. And if they're coming to negotiation, it's just a ploy to put off the inevitable.
I mean, there's not much they have left in their arsenal. I mean, this promise to their regime that they are building this nuclear weapon is the main thing that they hang on to in terms of power. So it makes perfect sense that it would be something that they can't let go of, because I'm not sure what they have left. They have no economy. They've used all the money that they have to support these various proxy groups who have also been decimated by Israel. Speak to the isolation at this point as you assess it at the study of war for Khamenei right now.
Well, you put your finger right on it, Martha. The basic reason to have the nuclear weapon is to preserve the regime. That's reason one. The second reason is obviously the destruction of Israel, and also is use it, as political leverage in the region to achieve dominance even more than what they have with their proxies over the Arab states and the rest of it. And obviously the Arab states would have to enter into a nuclear arms race, and makes this whole area so much more volatile, because then you have a potential for an exchange of nuclear weapons, something we've never ever had. So yes, primary reason is preservation of the regime, and that is why they're holding on to this thing as long as they can. But look at let's assume the nuclear goes away, and they'll still want to rebuild at some point and recover, certainly. But they're also going to be very weakened politically internally as a result of this. The people have been fed up with this regime for a long time, but now even some of the people that are close to the regime, Martha, I mean, in the first 12 hours, they lost all of their air defense capability. That means fighter jets for the last 5 days have been flying day and night over Iran. And the psychological and emotional impact of something like that is stunning. And the second thing is they lose their nuclear program. They lose the leaders of the program. They lose the leaders of their military. And finally, they lose the one offensive power that they really do have, and it's coming to an end, and that is their ballistic missile program. So they sit there, weak politically, weak economically, and weak militarily as a result of what has taken place. And are they vulnerable from internal regime change as a result of that? You betcha.
Yeah,
in a way that
it's
they have
stunning.
never been in 45 years.
It's an absolutely stunning situation that you don't see these proxies coming to their defense, that you don't see Russia coming to their defense. You basically hear it's as quiet as a mouse all around the region, as I think most players feel like they wouldn't be unhappy at all to see this regime fall. General, they talk about a surprise weapon. They keep saying in Iran, oh, wait till you see what we have coming down the pipeline in a couple of days. What's your reaction to that before we go, sir?
I have no idea what they're talking about, but and I'm not the least bit intimidated by it, and I don't think the Israelis are, and certainly the United States government. But the point that you just made is crucial. They created Hezbollah as a military force and a terrorist organization. They armed it to the teeth. They provided 150,000 rockets and missiles. The principal reason, job one for Hezbollah, was to defend Iran from Israel in the event of a war. Hezbollah has not fired a single shot, but they have thousands of weapons still. Why aren't they doing that? They decapitated their leadership. Israel has broken their will right in front of us. No response whatsoever. That is absolutely amazing achievement that what we have seen.
It is. It's extraordinary. And think about this as such a moment of consequence in history that we have been on the brink of. And now it is such an opportunity that exists that I think is felt all around the region. And General, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're with us today. We look forward to speaking with you in the days to come as history continues to unfold here. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for tuning in to the live show. God bless you. All right. Shout out to Sandra. I just saw Sandra in the chat. God bless you for tuning in. And hopefully you help your mom with her garden. God bless you. All right, here we go.
Reaction. Fox News contributor, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. It's obvious. I mean, in so many ways, he's given them every opportunity to peacefully get out of what is their own demise and destruction. Can you believe in such a short period of time, the Israelis dominate the airwaves and the skies of Iran in such a short period of time? I mean, they can deliver one devastating blow after another. The question is this one facility, the Fordo facility, and whether or not the United States will take them out with bunker busters. Your thoughts tonight?
Well, when historians look back and say, did Donald Trump really make a difference? Think about this. The original Ayatollah Khomeini first started calling us the Great Satan in 1978. Iranian mobs began chanting death to America in 1979 when they seized illegally the American embassy. They have been taunting us, attacking us, harassing us all these years through all these presidents. And finally, they have collided with Donald J. Trump, and he's crossed the line. He and Netanyahu are partners, much like Reagan and Margaret Thatcher were partners. And the two of them are going to change history decisively. I believe they're going to break the mullahs and the regime, create a new Iran, which will, in a decade, be dramatically more prosperous, be a neighbor, be accepted, be part of the region. This would not have happened with anyone except Donald J. Trump. It's obvious. This guy has the guts. He has the understanding. He actually follows the logic. If you don't want a nuclear Iran, then you've got to stop the mullahs, because as long as they're there, there's going to be a nuclear Iran. And he's prepared to do whatever it takes to stop them. This will not be a forever war. This will be a brief, brutal, direct use of American power to end the regime and end the threat and make both the world and the Middle East safer.
You know, I'm trying to understand. Now, I showed the polls. The overwhelming number of Americans, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, support the president. I mean, the poll with Robert Cahaly and Matt Towery in particular, we can put it up or we can find it, asked a very pointed question. By any means necessary, and 75% of respondents said, yeah, Donald Trump should use any means necessary to take it out. And, what's amazing to me is people talk about, Donald Trump wanting a forever war. Well, he didn't have a forever war when he took out Soleimani or Baghdadi and Associates. Didn't have a forever war when he beat the ISIS caliphate. He just kicked the living hell out of them, won, and turned around and went home. And in this case, it would be take out the Fordo nuclear site, and from that point on, protect our assets in the region and let the Israelis do whatever they need to do, considering they've been the victim of the vast majority of those missiles being fired into their country by Iran and by their proxies.
Look, if we finish crushing the Revolutionary Guard, my hunch is that the army will side with the people and they will take over the country, liberate it, and move towards a prosperous, peaceful Iran that we can live with. And there are an enormous number of Iranian Americans who are very successful, who are prepared to go back and help rebuild their country once the dictatorship is gone. But nobody should kid themselves. This is a decisive moment in world history. This is going to change not just the region, but, what happened was the American people since 1978 have had these people chanting death to America. They watch missiles hitting Tel Aviv, and the average American says to themselves, if any one of those missiles had been nuclear, the entire city would have been annihilated and 1 million people would be dead. Now, at that point, you say to yourself, are you prepared to take the risk of allowing these madmen to get nuclear weapons? And as you saw in the polling data, Democrats, independents, Republicans all came back and said, no, this is the moment, get rid of them. And luckily for us, we have in President Trump somebody with the guts, the toughness, and the determination to actually follow through.
Let me get your final comment. I only have less than a minute. Donald Trump puts on social media warning the people in Tehran to leave. And not only are they leaving, they are leaving in massive, massive numbers. You can't even get out of there fast enough. Pretty amazing sight, isn't it?
It is a moment that is going to change history, not only in Iran, but the message to Putin, the message to Xi Jinping, the message to every would-be aggressor in the world is there is a new sheriff in town, and he is serious.
The Trump doctrine is clear. It really is. The guy that took out Soleimani, the guy that took out Baghdadi and Associates, the guy that took out the caliphate, doesn't believe in forever wars, but he's not an isolationist either, and he applies common sense and taking out Iran and their nuclear sites before they get them and terrorize the world. That, to me, is simple common sense. Newt Gingrich, we appreciate you.
Shout out to everybody for tuning in. God bless y'all. You guys are awesome. We've been streaming for 3 hours plus. Some of you are just joining. You can watch the replay. Instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on God. Believe in yourself. Believe in your dreams. And believe in Almighty God. With that being said, I got to say this. America is the greatest country on earth. This is my belief. America is the greatest nation on the face of the earth. We do pray for peace. We do not want, death. Doesn't matter if it's Iranian or Ukrainian or wherever it's happening. We do not want this death going on. And Trump has said it multiple times. Just like the GOAT said in the comment section, he said Trump would come out victorious. And he said that, meaning America will come out victorious. So I got to say this, man. God is the greatest. We pray for peace, just like the esteemed, legendary moderator C. Shelley said, pray for peace. Okay, pray for peace. Regardless of what's going on, we pray for peace. All right. Thank you guys for being here. I got to say a big shout out to the GOAT, Dr. Luke. God bless you. Our esteemed member, the GOAT. God bless you one more time. Thank you for the super chat. Truly appreciate it. Shout out to Sandra, another esteemed member. God bless you, Sandra, for tuning in. Shout out to Ellie. Shout out to Ringmaster. Also, C. Shelley, God bless you for doing your job. It's hard. It's hard. I said doing your job like it's an actual job. But you've been absolutely amazing. God bless you. Even though there's wolves in the chat are trying to get you off your game, but you've been doing an awesome, beautiful job. God bless you for being here, C. Shelley. Shout out to Ender's Game. God bless you for being here as well. Who else? Mr. Busky. I think I saw him in the chat briefly. I can't remember. But Mr. Busky, God bless you. With that being said, liberals, conservative, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. What matters is you are American, okay? And you should stand for America. America first. This is why we voted for Trump. America first. Okay? America first. I got to say this too. Thank you to the veterans. Thank you so much to the veterans. Thank you to the military personnel. You guys give us our freedom. Without you guys, there would be no freedom. So shout out to each and every one of you who have a family member in the military. Shout out to C. Shelley. He said his son is in the Air Force. So shout out to C. Shelley. And shout out to your son, C. Shelley. Thank you to your son for his service to the United States. And God bless every single one of y'all who have a member in the military. You guys are the best. Thank you. Also, thank you to our law enforcement officers. Thank you because they're doing their job, safeguarding Americans on American soil. And shout out to ICE. ICE, baby. ICE is doing their jobs as well, securing the border and making sure this deadly product are not being sent over to the United States to devastate American family. A shout out to the Commander-in-Chief, President Trump, the 45th, now the 47th President of the United States. He's doing exactly what he campaigned on, which is mass deportation, okay? Bringing back manufacturing jobs into the United States, renegotiating trade deals, everything he's talking about, or everything he's talked about during the campaign, he's actually done it or is already working on it. So, everybody has something to say, but no human being is perfect, okay? I don't expect Trump to be perfect. He's never going to be perfect. But he is the right man for the job. God put him there, okay? Human beings did not put him there. That's the first thing everybody has to understand. God put him there. We voted for him, but God put him there, okay? So maybe it's time to start praying. Maybe it's time to start praying for our leaders and wishing them well and wishing them the ultimate knowledge, good knowledge for them to be able to make the right decision for the United States. Because if Trump fails, America fails. Most people are saying, well, he's going to fail. Why would you wish for your president to fail? Don't you know your president represents your country? Trump represents the United States, so we can never pray for him to fail. We have to pray for him to win, so America can win. All right? God bless y'all. God is the greatest. Without God, nothing is possible. Okay? None of this is possible without God. And I believe in my heart that God is with the United States because, like it or not, the United States has done so much good in this world. People like to belittle the United States and say America is bad or like to be in everybody's businesses. But the fact is, without America, so many nations would not exist today. And that's just the truth. We can argue about it, but that's just the truth. America is literally like a mediator standing in between complete annihilation of some countries. And they know, but I guess, you know what they say, the hero is never respected in his home. But with that being said, God bless you guys so much. God is the greatest. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Yeah, it is your boy Genesis. I gotta go. And if I'm not, wait, Jet, God bless you, Jet. Thank you for being here as well. God bless you, Jet. And what else, man? What else am I missing? Fathers, take care of your kids, okay? Mothers have been doing a great job for a long, long time. So fathers, it's time for us to step up and do our jobs, which is take care of our responsibilities. Kids do not ask to be here. We chose to bring kids into this world. We chose to bring kids into this world. So it's time for fathers to step up, okay? So, yeah, I know life is hard. And never ever give up, okay? Never ever give up. No matter what you're going through, no matter how hard your life may seem, you may be, you know, living paycheck to paycheck right now. You may be, finding it hard to pay your bills. But I just want you to know you are not alone. God is with you. And very soon, you're going to get a testimony. You're going to get that phone call you've always been waiting for, that text message, that email you've always been waiting for that would change your life. You just have to believe, keep working, never give up. Trust God, okay? I'm not a pastor, I'm not a preacher. I'm just saying this is just normal things that I like to say, okay? God is with you. Never ever give up. And I love you guys, man. America is the greatest country on earth. I love you guys so much. It is your boy Genesis. Shout out to the GOAT Luke. Shout out to C. Shelley. Shout out to Jet. Shout out to Mr. Booski. Shout out to Sandra. And every one of y'all in the chat. God bless you. It is your boy Genesis. See y'all soon. God bless you.